Gravity Mage with level up system. Sandrock Country Starfield State Redwater Province. Inside the Carey family home, our male protagonist is sleeping excessively, while his mother, Lila Carey, is irritated by her wayward son. She walked up to the door and knocked. I'm not sure whether he'll be awakened or not at this time, she thought to herself. Knock, knock, knock. Vincent Carey, RMC, heard the knocking sound. He, on the other hand, refuses to leave. Observing her young lad's lack of responsiveness, she returned to her kitchen, grunting. She was cooking when she heard footsteps coming from upstairs. Mum, I'm Russian. I'm not hungry for breakfast. Vincent Carey's older brother, Brian Carey, smiled as he said. What? No way, child. Lila Carey, mother, expressed her unhappiness right away. I understand that today is the first-year students' opening ceremony. However, getting some food into your stomach isn't a bad idea. She motions to her older son to eat. Brian decides not to protest any longer after hearing his mother's unhappy tone. He sat in his chair, obediently eating. Ads by Pub Future. Brian Carey has a bulky build, which hints at his occupation as an earth mage. He is currently 18 years old. His mother gave him a strange look. He has the same brown hair and brown eyes as she has. Her aged face lit up with a smile when she saw her devoted son. Lila Carey, Mom, is a healing mage by trade. She is a 45-year-old woman. Her skin is pale, and she has brown hair and brown eyes. She's a little frail and chubby. In general, she has a peaceful temperament. Brad Carey, her husband and father of her 2 sons, is also a healing mage. They've known each other since they were in college. Due to low skill and elderly age, both of their advancement as a level 4 limiter, healing mage slowed. After graduating from college, they married and began working in the medical field. Brian Carey was the first to be born, followed by Vincent Carey 2 years later. The 4-person family eventually settled in Redwater Province. Their first kid is now attending Violet Heart Mage College, nearly 18 years later. Lila Carey, the mother, couldn't help but be pleased. On the other hand, she was content to watch her son contentedly eat. When Brian noticed his mother's perceptive glance, he said, Mom, what happened to Dad? Please don't tell me he still wants to work the night shift. Lila Carey was stunned for a second when she heard her son say that. She knew the real reason, to pay for their son's college entry expenses. Both of them managed to save some money by working day and night, but it is still insufficient. In light of the fact that Violet Heart College increased their fees last term, they still need to make some money this year to pay their bills. She, on the other hand, is adamant about not telling Brian. This kid has a powerful mind. He's not going to like it, she thought to herself. However, she couldn't help but feel even worse when she thought about Vincent. They were all mage, though none of them were particularly high-ranking. They are, however, still mage. When compared to the rest of the human population, mage has a decent standard of living. Ads by Pub Future. Despite the fact that the mage society is still competitive, she still does not want her youngest boy to grow up to be a human. Even more competitive is the environment around human civilization. You can't even be ordinary in that culture. Raising a family on your own would otherwise be a dream. Mom, Brian screams in a hushed tone as he notices his mother's face deteriorating. She snapped back to reality as she heard her son's voice. I'm worried about Vincent, she said, looking at her son's face. He'd already squandered one chance. If he fails at the last possible moment, I'm not sure what will happen to him in the future. Hearing his mother's concern for his younger sibling, Brian groaned and said, Mom, he said. Don't be concerned. Next time, he'll use his wizard ability. Even if he fails, I believe there are methods to artificially stimulate his talent, he continued. Lila stared at her kid and said, Young man, I've noticed your face has altered dramatically. Avoid becoming connected with those prohibited individuals. I don't give a damn if Vincent fails. I just want him to be alive and well. It's preferable to be human than to be a test subject. Brian bowed his head as he heard that. Unlike his mother, he has an opposing viewpoint on researchers. It is impossible to explore space without them. He has a longing expression on his face as he considers space. He still understands why his mother dislikes them. There is no such thing as successful research that does not include some level of failure. It is customary to test on live humans and animals throughout this process. However, it is illegal to conduct research on humans without their agreement. With a shake of his head, he continued to finish the meal. Brian rose up from his seat a few minutes later and said, Okay, Mom. It's getting late. Brian had left the house. He was on his way to the train station. A direct rail to Violet Heart Mage College is available, which is in the following province. Mom, Lila Carey, on the other hand, got up from her seat and headed over to Vincent's room. She banged on the door again after arriving in front of the room. Vincent, it's getting late for your school. Knock, knock. Vincent, it's getting late for your school. I don't have to wait all day for you. I have to get back to work. Breakfast was prepared for you. Have it first thing in the morning before going to school. Lila Carey expressed her concern in a worried tone. E3. Being healing mage is good, otherwise, she has no idea what will happen to her health because of her worry. She sighed deeply and then proceeded to her room to get dressed. Her husband and she are both employed at the same hospital. It's a Mage Professionals mid-level hospital. Her husband works the night shift, while she works the day shift. From the MC's POV. My mother's yelling irritates me considerably. I don't even get to sleep for long periods of time. Oh, my God. What a world. I muttered something beneath my breath. I rose from my bed, carefully massaging my scalp. First and foremost, I'm going to stand in front of the mirror. It's a daily ritual for me to look at my attractive face. In front of the mirror, I observe my appearance. Aside from my attractive looks, my physical strength is enough. But, like someone from the Mage family, having this kind of strength isn't enough. My father gave me looks, unlike my older brother. Long black hair and dark eyes are the same. Most significantly, I have a good-looking face, fair skin, and am around 6 feet tall. The only difference is that I'm thinner than my father. I started thinking about today's event after praising my appearance. Yes, today is the most significant day of my life. Second session of Mage Awakening. Everyone must have fundamental strength before awakening in order to withstand the pressure from the awakening platform. At the age of 15, I failed. During their first waking, the majority of people awaken their mage skill. People rarely have a second chance to awaken their gift. I didn't awaken my mage talent at my initial awakening, either. I've been given a second opportunity. I'm hoping to activate my mage talent today. I don't recall having a baseline standard of body strength when I initially awoke. That, I suppose, is why I was unable to awaken the talent at the time. This time, though, such is not the case. I met the physical fitness requirements. After giving myself a pep talk, I went to take a brief shower. I walked out of the water a few minutes later, just as I was about to change my clothing. Ding, alarm, 9 a.m. My ears reverberated with the sound of alarm. I set the alarm the night before and failed to turn it off when I awoke. I approached the small alarm clock and turned it off. I began to prepare myself by shaking my head. There are no clothing codes in place for students. As do the majority of Mage family students. Everyone believes in the concept of free will. As a result, I chose my favorite look. Gray is my personal favorite. I went for a gray sweatshirt from a new startup business, followed by black jeans. These two combos provided me with some relief. I started combing my hair properly after I put on my clothing. Then I moved on to other sections, which included men's lotions, body perfume, and scent. I'm not going to use any of them, I say, shaking my head. If it's a regular day, I'll probably attempt one of these. But today is a pivotal day in my life, it has the potential to alter my destiny. As a result, these topics do not pique my attention. With a sigh, I proceeded to load my backpacks. For today's session, I stuffed a couple books. Classes were generally cancelled for the waking ceremony. However, this is only during the first awakening ritual. Because the majority of the pupils awakened during the first event, half a day is sufficient for the second waking ceremony. Only a few individuals, including myself, dare to register a second time. I took a deep breath and thought to myself, I'm strong enough and won't become frightened easily. But, as the hour for awakening approaches, I was mistaken. My stomach hurts, and I'm not sure what it is. I couldn't help but worry, despite the fact that I didn't want to. Why am I behaving in such a normal manner? I spoke slowly. Damn it, I've got mage blood in my veins. I put on my wristwatch, which is also a tech gear, when I've sorted out my thoughts. I exited my room after finishing my task. The smell of food struck my nose as I walked by the dining table. I came to a halt when I detected the aroma. I'm already late, no way. I'm sorry, but I don't have time right now. What should I do? Slowly, I whispered. Then my thoughts began to speed, and I came to an understanding. I snatched the food from the dining table and put it in the refrigerator. If Mom finds out, I'm sure she'll chastise me. But I'll take care of it later. After that, I used the code to lock the room door. I left my house and walked to school. It's only a short walk from here. We live in the capital of Redwater Province, thanks to Mom and Dad. In the main city, every facility is available. To double-check the timetable, I used my wristwatch. I checked my student ID by logging in. I received notification from my management as I checked it. I quickly clicked the page after seeing it. Student name, Vincent Carey. Class, B6. Second awakening schedule, 3 p.m. What? I was taken aback. I knew the awakening would take place after 12 p.m. However, the timing is inexcusable. I'm not sure I can wait that long. My stomach is already causing me problems. I'm at a loss on what to do. I was in a hurry to get to school because I was upset. After a few moments, Little Stargate High School. I dashed towards my school's gate after spotting it from afar. Many students were entering the school along the route, some walking alongside me. The school's name may imply little, but there are more than 800 pupils in my grade that attend our school. There are 30 pupils in section B6 of my class, including myself. The class strength in each section is the same, and they were divided based on academic performance. From A1 to A6 and up to D1 to D6. The parents of the majority of the students in the D section were human. Both parents were humans, or the father was a mage and the mother was a human in some situations. As a result, they have a low level of talent. People from Class D can occasionally awaken their magical power through good talent. They were placed in Class A right away. They can continue to study there till they graduate. They were led by far more knowledgeable personnel than Class D. As I recall, after she awakened Fire Mage with middle-level talent, a girl from D class was transferred to Class A. When I thought about it, I couldn't help but sigh. If I am unable to awaken my mage power by the use of good talent, it's possible that I'll be sent to Class D. Then I took a step forward to enter the gate after seeing the mass of students. I entered the school grounds and proceeded to my classroom. I saw some familiar faces on the way. Those boys were about my age. They do, however, belong in Class A. I didn't want to look at them for an extended period of time. I arrived at the second-year building and strolled in front of my Class B6 after climbing the stairs in a few breaths. As soon as I noticed the absence of the class teacher's shadow, I entered the classroom and took my seat in the last row. I entered not long after. One by one, a large number of additional students entered. The room quickly filled with 30 people. Today, their entire class strength is present. I was thinking about it when I heard a bothersome voice. Wait, what? Isn't it interesting to see who has arrived? After the second awakening, Vincent will be a formidable mage. As a result, we must treat him with decency. Sean Waltz said it in a mocking tone, particularly when he mentioned a second awakening. When Sean's voice was heard, everyone's gaze was drawn to Vincent Carey. The majority of his classmates' expressions were amusing, but others expressed concern, pity, or disinterest. It's a typical daytime show that they're used to viewing. Due to the fact that everyone has mage blood coursing through their veins. Except for their own specific mage might and corresponding talent, no one felt superior to others. I twitched as I heard Sean's mocking tone. Does this guy think I'm a pushover? I said something to myself in hushed tones. Then I did what I always did and didn't respond. Observing Vincent's laid-back attitude. Sean frowns, his face twisted involuntarily. I don't think you'll be able to reawaken your skill on your second awakening. Wait, your horror officially begins after you're tossed into Class D, Sean thought to himself. He then responded with a snort and returned to his seat. The rest of the pupils shifted their focus back to class. They were used to seeing it on a daily basis, so it didn't surprise them. A middle-aged man with spectacle entered the classroom shortly after this incident. He is dressed in a white tuxedo, with black hair and eyes, and is around 6 feet tall. He has a slim build. His appearance is linked to his mage ability. He is a level 3 light mage limiter. He was unable to absorb mana and rise to a higher level due to his low-level skill. He went on to teach later in life. Dave Wise is current class teacher of this class. When they saw their teacher, they all get quiet. Dave Wise, the class teacher, responded with a nod after obtaining his attention. After then, he makes an announcement. His gaze swept over them all before settling on Vincent Carey. Vincent Carey's calm expression caught his attention, and he was taken aback. Then he gave him slight nod. As all of you know, the second Mage Awakening will be held at midday, remarked class teacher Dave Wise. Those who had signed up anticipated to arrive on time. The rest of them who have been woken are going to the library. Students' faces change when they hear his comments. Some wished to witness the event in person, while others were ecstatic. After a while, the conversation died down, and the class teacher took over. In my heart, I let out a great sigh. Hoo-hoo, my stomach grumbles. Hearing it, I developed black lines on my brow. I should have talked to Mum, it's quite easy for her to treat me. Now, I'm dealing with this. What a drag. My demeanor may be serene, but my thoughts are completely focused on the second awakening. You'll find the origin of this content at N0velb, N. I kept a close eye on my classmates. The majority of them have awakened their mage power, but their talent is adequate. This is why they were not promoted. 10 persons from my class were promoted to top class following the initial awakening, as I recall. Class A, B1, B2, and B3 are all included. Each grade increase in talent brings you closer to the top of the class. Currently, someone from Class C has been relocated to our class in their place. I tried to observe the class by shaking my head. I gazed at the board with a tilted head. Human anatomy is being explained by the class teacher. Human physique and mage physique are two different things. Every ascension leads to a new level of growth. 9. As you know, the most important thing for a mage is not their mage profession, class teacher Dave Wise said. Their talent, on the other hand. We can only progress to the next level if we have good talent. So it makes no difference what kind of mage profession you have if you don't have good talent. It's difficult to gain strength. When you successfully awoke your mage profession, he continued. In your heart, a small illusory core will be formed. Your mage profession is linked to this illusory core. A fire mage, for example, has a fire core in his heart. A sword mage, like a mechanical core, has an illusory sword in his heart. Your core will be strengthened with each ascension, and your mage power will grow even more. Hearing his comments, the mood in the classroom brightens up, and the gloomy feeling fades away. On the other side, I was in a terrific mood. For a little while, I even forgot about my gastrointestinal problems. As he stated, the mage profession is divided into several categories. The elemental powers of a mage are not the only ones available to mankind. Since the beginning of the mage civilization. So far, several varieties have been discovered. It's quite common to awaken variant mage professions with a steady increase in population. Mage profession. Elements: wind, water, fire and earth. Elemental variants: tornado, ice, lava, soil and unknowns. Extreme variants: darkness, light, thunder, poison and healing and unknowns. Taboo variants: space, time and unknowns. Sub-taboo variants: gravity, time delay and unknowns. Physique variants: sensitive hearing, penetrative vision, sensitive smelling, high-pitch voice, strength and speed and unknowns. Mechanical variants: sword, axe and all kinds of tools. Trash variants: extreme eating and other unsuccessful tool variants. So far, my parents have taught me the following mage professions. Mechanical mages were the most wretched of them all. Mechanical tools require a high level of skill. If not, your life is very similar to that of a human being. Imagine being able to easily manifest your sword tool if you awaken the sword mage profession with middle-level talent. When you raise your level by 1, your sword has a chance to turn into real stuff. That, however, is the issue. How easy is it to cultivate a genuine talent? I begin to focus on the subject after letting go of these negative ideas. As time passed, the period came to an end. The teacher walked out of the room. It's the break period, so it's time for a rest. I walked out of the classroom to seek some fresh air. A few students left the class, trailed by me. Someone appeared to be peering at me from behind for a brief while. I turn around to see who it is, and it is none other than Sean. This pig. I reprimanded in hushed voice. I recall why this guy irritates me. It's all because of my wonderful older brother. Sean has an older sister who is in the same batch as my brother. What could be more ironic? She appears to be pursuing the same career path as my older brother. Both of them are now enrolled in the same college. My sibling was extremely fortunate. And, unlike his sister, Sean does not like my brother. As a result, he is now expressing his rage on me. I tried to move away from here, shaking my head. I was about to head downstairs when I heard a voice from behind me. Sean laughed as he continued, "Vincent, Professor Matthew summoned you to his office." When he saw I had stopped walking, he began to play whatever game he was playing at the time. "I don't recall seeing him today," I said as I turned to face him. "Please don't impose your duty on me." With a harsh tone, I said. I sensed he was planning to lure me into something nefarious. His countenance changed dramatically as he listened to Vincent's comments. He knew his strategy had been exposed. As a result, he shifted his tone and said, "What if you knew, unlike you, I'm awakened? Bye, I've got some other work to accomplish." Sean walks away from the scene after saying that. He didn't even give Vincent a sidelong glance. On the other hand, an unidentified wrath overtook me. I would have taught him a fine lesson now if it hadn't been for my lack of strength. And he knows I wouldn't dare to respond in kind. Then I start to relax my body and mind. Because today isn't my day, it's wise to keep things low-key. I check the time on my wristwatch once more. There are 5 minutes left until the break is over. I don't have enough time on my hands right now. This damned pig told me late, it was on purpose. I clenched my fists in frustration after discovering this. What should I do? My mind went crazy. Professor Matthew is difficult to deal with because his cabin is connected to the laboratory. He does not teach in a classroom, unlike other teachers. He leads everyone in the laboratory through a practical session. There is no such thing as a theoretical class. I've heard stories that he doesn't have a clean background. Also, because he has a short fuse, it's best not to offend him. I quickened my speed after sorting things out. From MC's perspective. After a few moments, I took the lift to the 3rd floor after confirming it. I saw the lights in the laboratories were turned on after exiting the lift. It appears that he has entered the laboratory. I muttered something beneath my breath. Then, in a matter of breaths, I was at the door. The security system is connected to the door, which is locked. To gain authorization to enter, I pressed the visitor button. Ding! The door is opened. When I entered the room after seeing that, the door behind me automatically locked. But the view in front of me never failed to captivate me. On my left side of the desk, there are several high-tech gadgets. Several flasks on my right side contain colorful liquid. I heard footsteps as I was examining each object. Turning around, I noticed Professor Matthew sifting through some papers. When I saw him, my expression became gloomy, so I instantly moved in front of him and said, "Ahem, hello. Professor. Sean informed me that you had requested that I come here." Professor Matthew, on the other hand, put down his papers as soon as he heard his words. Because he gave him permission to enter, he is already aware of his existence. Professor Matthew is a 60-year-old professor. He is an Earth Mage, a level 4 limiter. However, he appears to be 50 years old. He has dark eyes and a hairless head. On his forehead, he had a few wrinkles. He has a slim physique. He is currently sporting a white coat over his sweatshirt. He worn with black formal pants. After hearing Vincent's words, when he asks a student for assistance, he begins to think. For a little period, they were both silent. Vincent, on the other hand, is aware that he is taking his time to recall. Professor Matthew, on the other hand, eventually recalls that a few days ago he asked an unknown boy to assist him in moving some items. That kid nodded seriously at the time, and I assumed he would arrive sooner. Not only did he not show up, but he also delegated his assignment to another student. Professor Matthew shakes his head in disapproval as he considers it. Sean Waltz awakened the power mage profession, thus Professor Matthew has a motive to do so. In the strength category, this falls under physique variance. His strength grew as a result of that profession. As a result, Sean's strength is twice that of the rest of his age group. Professor Matthew turned to Vincent after collecting his thoughts and said, "Cough. Kid, can you tell me your name?" In try to alleviate the kid's worries, he asked in a calm tone. I breathed a sigh of relief when I heard him. "Professor, I'm Vincent Carey from Class B6, I said when he finally remembered. Professor Matthew, on the other hand, nodded and motioned him to follow him. Professor Matthew guides him to an adjacent room by walking carefully. Vincent obediently followed him after seeing this. They walked into the adjacent room in a few breaths. This room, too, is locked. The professor then entered access codes to open the door. Creak. The door slid opens. Professor Matthew took the first step inside, and I followed suit. The door behind us slammed shut on its own. I'm disoriented for a time, seeing the objects in front of me. There were countless gleaming boulder-sized rocks. The majority of them were turquoise blue in color. I felt shocked. "Professor, what is this?" I was taken aback. Professor Matthew smiled as he saw Vincent's puzzlement and replied, "These were meteorite rocks." What? I was taken back. I felt even more perplexed. Why, after all, is it shining? On the other hand, he didn't wait for Vincent to ask any more questions. "I know, it's perplexing," Professor Matthew explained. "This is what I'm looking into as far as the cause of this phenomenon goes. This boulder is just speck of the original fallen meteorite. The original is collected by authorities. I paid a huge amount to get these leftovers." Hearing that, I couldn't help but feel amazed. This is just a collection of materials that were left over from the source meteorite. As he said, I'm also intrigued about this phenomenon. These meteorite stones were completely black, but if you look closely, you can see some details. The hue turquoise blue is visible in the illumination. I'm planning to move this stuff to a second-floor lab, Professor Matthew added. There is sufficient room to store this material and study it separately. When I heard that, I thought to myself, no wonder he asked Sean for assistance. He is strong, and his mage profession has given him even more power. On the other hand, I worriedly rubbed my temples. I'm not sure how I'm going to relocate this thing. I'm not strong enough to move them all at once. What should I do? Professor Matthew smiled as he observed Vincent's perplexity. Vincent's mage power had not yet awakened, he recognized at first glimpse. He didn't drive him away because he needed to explain the task to him. So, that he can go back and bring someone capable. All right, Professor, I said after taking a long breath. I'll lift some of the smaller rocks myself, for the larger ones, I'll ask the assistance of a friend. I'll be on the second floor, Professor Matthew responded after hearing that. You can bring this rock one at a time in a safe manner. He exited the room after saying that, leaving Vincent alone to ponder. I started sizing up the meteorite rocks when Professor Matthew left the room. Let's start with the tinier ones. I stepped closer to the smaller rocks after making up my mind. I put my hands on it and lifted it up. Professor Matthew, on the other hand, arrived at the second-floor lab. He starts to see if there are any changes that need to be made. From MC's perspective. Sometimes later, I spent a half hour moving the small meteorite rocks to the second floor. I must say that the second-floor lab has more space than the third-floor lab. There's one less smaller piece of the fallen meteorite in front of me right now. The rest of the meteorite rocks in this area were huge boulders. I don't give a damn about them. Then I double-checked that there are no smaller rocks left. I moved after confirming it. Unfortunately, I slid just as I put my front foot forward. Damn. Because the slipping happened so quickly, my entire body was in a horizontal position for a brief second. It's over. I screamed. I sighed and closed my eyes. My skull is going to collide on the enormous meteorite in front of me. If something happens, I'm going to be bedridden for the rest of the day. Because of that, I'd eventually lose my second awakening chance. I couldn't help but curse at my bad luck. Thud. Vincent's brow smacks with a massive boulder meteorite that is gleaming turquoise blue. An unexpected impact knocked him out. It had only been a minor concussion. Vincent, on the other hand, has no idea that this small influence will change the rest of his life forever. When his forehead makes touch with the gleaming boulder, a startling change occurs. Small drops of blood fall upon the boulder as a result of the violent hit. Hysss. As his scarlet blood contacts the meteorite. The blood drips vanished in an instant, and a turquoise blue light dashed towards Vincent's forehead before vanishing. Vincent stays unconscious, oblivious to his surroundings. Professor Matthew, on the other hand, was completely unaware of Vincent's mishap. After telling Vincent to move everything to the second lab, due to some other emergency task, he went out for a time. As time passed, the moment of awakening approached. Ding. Alarm, 12 p.m. Vincent's wristwatch suddenly buzzes, signaling the alarm time. Vincent's body moved as a result of the unexpected sound, and his dizziness gradually faded. Alternatively, ding. Host, binding process status, 10%. Ding. Host, binding process status, 20%. Ding. Host, binding process status, 30%. Ding. Host, binding process status 80%. Vincent Carey became conscious at this point, and he got a little more clear-headed. What's going on? I blurted out in disbelief. I jolted awake when I saw the buzzer. I carefully rose from the ground, massaging my temples as I did so. For a little moment, I looked around to recall the occurrence. In my mind, a vision of my brow colliding against the meteorite rock flashes. Then my mind went completely blank. After that, I breathed a sigh of relief. Thankfully, nothing awful occurred. This task will have to be postponed for the time being. I can't be late for the ceremony of awakening. I exited the building after gathering my thoughts. The special place hosts the second awakening ceremony. In the heart of our campus, there lies a small temple. The ceremony of awakening is regarded as a sacred act. As a result, this ritual is generally held at this temple. I dashed there to that location, but my mind was jerked awake by an odd sound. Ding. Host binding process status, 90%. I came to a standstill when I heard what sounded like an announcement. Similarly, familiar faces were moving towards the spot on the way. Vincent, what's the matter with you standing there dazed? Please, hurry up. One of the boys in the next class gestures for me to come over. When I heard it, I nodded and began walking gently towards the area. But I'm currently preoccupied with this issue. This message sounded as if it came straight from my head. Weird, I grumbled. I don't have someone with me to make the noise. Furthermore, this voice does not sound male or female. What could it possibly be? Ding. Host binding process status 100%. Ding. Host recognized, binding successful. Ding. Level up system in operation. My hands quiver for a time when I hear the incessant buzzing. My brow is dripping with tiny sweat beads. I took a deep breath and let out a sigh of relief. I looked around to check whether there were any other persons in the area. Students were making their way to the location. As a result, no one is paying attention to me. After that, I straightened my back and started walking. Who is it? I wondered in my head. It's strange, but I'm at a loss on what to do. Ding. Host voice recognized. Ding, level up system. Description, a unique system, created to assist a weak existence to become powerful existence. Functions, 1. Level up the talent. 2. Level up the limit. 3. Reserved slot for spells. For a little minute, I was terrified. I didn't expect to hear back. But, right now, I'm staring at a visual display in front of me. Everything appears to be real, and this device resembles a high-tech tool. But my gut tells me it's a lot more complex and sophisticated than that. I'm not sure how that's possible. Don't tell me it's all because of that damned rock. Due to the unknown, my back was saturated in sweat. I was even more surprised after reading the description. I'm not sure what kind of abacus this is. For a brief moment, my jaw dropped. Is it possible to become a powerful existence? I'm not sure what kind of concept this is. Is it even feasible to increase talent? For a brief moment, my mind is blank, and my awareness is crumbling. No. No. Wait. I'll have to go through it again. On the other hand, the system confirmed his thoughts by repeating the description and displaying the facts in text. After confirming it once more, it's true. I couldn't say anything. My heart begins to race, and I no longer have to be concerned about my future. It makes no difference what kind of mage profession you have. Even if it's a trash profession, with a system in my hands, I can become more powerful by simply leveling my talent. One day, I'll reach the pinnacle of any of those magic profession fields. As my ideas become clearer, I relax, I understand the first two functions, and I'll inquire about the third later. For the time being, I must attend this ceremony. As I was thinking about it, the visual screen vanished. It will take some time to grasp everything. I couldn't make heads or tails of it right now. Without realizing it, I had arrived in front of the temple, shaking my head. I rushed inside while massaging my temples. Every time I see the architecture, it continues to astound me. The sculptures on display are of real people. From our school, he is a formidable mage. Other mages' sculptures were also present. The sculptures in this gallery are all white. The structure itself is white, exuding a sense of reverence. This also demonstrates sculptor mage's ability. Unless your talent is waste, no profession is a waste profession. Vincent, come here. My thoughts were interrupted by a loud voice. When I turned back, I noticed the class teacher motioning for me to take my seat. I walked over to my seat and sat down, nodding. It's seat 96, so it's no surprise that my awakening ceremony is at 3 p.m. There are 3 hours remaining on the clock. A total of 100 people were eligible for this second awakening. I'm at the bottom of the list. I close my eyes for a bit. It appears that this will take some time. Other than class mentors and a few assistants, I haven't seen any mage officials yet. So, in the meantime, I decided to learn more about the system. System, I called out in my mind. Ding. Host voice is recognized. Hearing the response, system, are there any functions left out? I commented in my mind. Ding. Level up system basic version 1.0. Ding. For the current version, only 3 functions were allowed. For more functions, the system needs to be updated. I couldn't help but be taken aback as I listened to the explanation. Why does this sound like a modern technological device? These people take our money and manipulate us into buying their new product in the name of updating. I'm hoping this isn't the case with this. For an update, I'm hoping the system won't screw me up. At my house, I'm a legal freeloader. I don't have a ton of money in my wallet. #love freeloaders. System, can you tell me what I need to do for this new update? In my mind, I made a comment. Ding. Begin scanning %. Ding. Scanning done 100%. Ding. New update requirements are not met. Ding. Host powerful level is not met with the condition. Ding. Suggest host to attain required power level, level 10 limiter mage. I'm patiently staring at the visual screen in front of me. As the system explains, I'm looking for some reasonable responses. My powerful level is insufficient, just as the system suggested. I've learned something, and it's probably because I haven't been awakened. I'll ask the system to scan again once I've awakened my talent. But, reading the next suggestion, it shocked hell out of me. Fu asterisco kappa. Everyone's attention was drawn to me when they heard my loud voice. Dave Wise, the class teacher, approached him and inquired, Vincent, what's the matter with you? When he saw Vincent's peculiar behavior, he couldn't help but frown. A loud exclamation breaks the silence. Mage officials have arrived, having noticed that Dave Wise is no longer involved with Vincent. He and other mentors went over to greet them right away. They drew everyone's attention to themselves. It was awkward, thank goodness. For a brief period, I believed the mentor was about to deliver a lengthy lecture to me. I titled my next to look at the entrance with a shake of my head. All of the delegates, class mentors, and other officials were handing over flower bouquets to the mage officials one by one. After that, I returned my focus to the system. My spirit was almost blown away by the system's last message. Level 10 is the pinnacle of our world's existence. As a result, reaching that level will take a long time for me. It felt like a dream for a little moment. But, thanks to the system's capabilities, I'll be able to achieve that goal. The mage officials, on the other hand, greeted each other. When the pleasantries were over, they get down to business. A squad of 3 mage officials, led by one old man and 2 middle-aged men beside him, were in charge of the mage awakening ceremony. While we waited patiently, 3 of them stood on the platform, staring at us. "Hello, students," said the elderly man. "I'm Roger Bell, a fire mage, and I'm the ceremony master for this second mage awakening. These two, on the other hand, were my assistants." His voice was not loud, but it was audible to everybody. "Right now, I'm going to call you one by one according to your registration number," he continued. He looks down at the class mentors after stating that. When the class mentors realized what happened, they motioned to the kids to get ready. Observing that everyone in the room had straightened their backs. "Let's get started. The ceremony begins, and I'm hoping to awaken to a good profession. I have complete faith in my parents' genes." My expression was solemn as I looked at the old man's face. It's fortunate that the second awakening event was taken seriously by officials. This isn't something they're taking lightly. The assistants near the old man took out the enormous metallic casket, which I witnessed during the ceremony. They start by removing the talent awakening stone and the magical awakening stone. I sighed as I saw these stones for the first time in a year. They didn't respond the last time I touched them. A particularly traumatic recollection flashes before my eyes. I put those dismal thoughts behind me by taking a deep breath. These two stones are now attached to electronics, unlike in the medieval age. It's a small miniature machine with a giant display panel. I'm not sure what process is going on within. When a person's talent is awakened, it will be seen on the screen. It's a high-tech talent detection method for today's world. It's the idea of a group of scientists. When combined with these two awakening stones, it creates a powerful combination. It was almost 95% accurate in detecting talent. After that, these two gentlemen set everything up. For a brief while, the atmosphere became solemn. Everyone was staring at the first student. As everyone glanced at the first student's expression, he got up from his seat and walked up to the platform. He placed his palm on the magical power awakening stone in front of everyone's eyes. After making a full circle around the stone, a stream of tiny energy penetrates his body and returns to the stone. The display screen then undergoes immediate changes. "Water Mage." So the boy's eyes lit up with joy. A single phrase was displayed on the display screen. Looking at the screen, everyone else had bright expression. It brightens the environment. Nobody wants to be in such a dismal environment. Everyone is overjoyed that he has awoken. On the other side, everyone was concerned about their own well-being. Beside him, "Good," Fire Mage replied with a smile after seeing the image power on the display screen. He then motions for him to put his hand on the stone. Talent determines life's turning points. The most crucial factor in the mage's route is talent. It's a deciding element as well. In the mage profession, how many levels can you achieve? Next. He then placed his hands on the talent awakening stone on the podium. For a little while, a bright light shone brightly. The color was a distinct yellow. Everyone comprehended at the same time when they looked at the color. The screen on which the information is shown has changed. Talent level, lower middle. Everyone breathed a sigh of relief as they looked at the talent screen. More than 60% of students awaken low-level talent, according to its average talent. As a result, it's a common trend. His water mage path, on the other hand, necessitates a large amount of water resources. The boy exhaled a sigh of relief when he realized his talent. The old man, fire magician, then motions for the next person to come up. Then the next student. He too awakened the low-level talent with strength power type mage. As time passed, students came to recognize their own abilities. Then, all of a sudden, the mood changed. The student on the stage has not yet awakened his talent. He is unsuccessful. When he notices the elderly mage shaking his head, he sighed. Then the fire mage, he motions to his teacher to come get him. A good trend will come to an end at some point. It's impossible that everyone awake their talent at the same time. The student on the platform is currently unable to awaken his talent. He bursts into tears as soon as he realizes I couldn't help but feel sorry for him. I'm not sure if destiny exists or not. How could heaven be unjust to some people? I said something to myself in hushed tones. I sighed deeply and then closed my eyes. It's easier for me to close my eyes and forget about these things for a while. However, not everyone shared this viewpoint. Due to the nature of the ceremony, no one dared to say anything. So, it doesn't mean that they don't have any contempt or ridicule for a weak person. The situation has now evolved into a teacher-to-teacher competition. If their class has so many unawakened people, it will harm their reputation, regulars. As a result, some teachers begin to brag about it. They couldn't wait for ceremony to end and celebrate it. Gradually, time passed. The fire mage, Roger Bell, on the other hand, is completely expressionless. The tendency didn't go away after that weeping kid. Following him, the students became regulars as well. I'm not sure what the rest of them are going to do. No one has yet broken the regular pattern. With a serious tone, one of the teachers said. This is also the sentiment of the teachers who were with him. On the other hand, B6 class teacher Dave Wise paused for a moment to observe the sacred temple. Regulars were crying and depressed, whereas the first few students that awoke had brilliant smiles on their faces. The rest of the participants' faces were filled with anxiety and nervousness. Dave Wise sighed, but he won't say anything for the time being. He merely stood there patiently listening to his colleagues' opinions. With the passage of time, a burly-looking student now stood in front of the awakened stone. As instructed, he pushed his palm against the stone. A dazzling light appeared out of nowhere. Everyone was waiting for the outcome on the display screen. At long last, someone broke the curse. The student next to me made a cheerful comment. My mouth twitched, and I had a nagging suspicion about him. It makes sense to awaken this profession, given his bodybuilding posture. However, the majority of mage talent is determined by birth, based on their parents' gene talent. The shield profession has now been awakened by this bodybuilder student. This has nothing to do with mage genes. Due to his habit as a bodybuilder and fitness talent, this profession arose. Then mage blood isn't the only road. If one is diligent, he or she can forge their own path. I said something to myself in hushed tones. The students then laid his hands on the stone of talent awakening. It turned a deep yellow color in an instant. As his talent was displayed on the screen, I heard a faint exclamation. Talent level, lower top. Great guy. I was taken aback and exclaimed. Despite his lack of talent, he will have a smooth career. Shield Mage can be an important member of a squad. I'm hoping for a good career as well. The somewhat glum attitude among students dissipated as a result of the bodybuilder's students' successful awakening, showing a look of expectation on their faces. Roger Bell's expressionless face changed slightly when he saw that Fire Mage. He too has been there in his old age and understands the situation completely. After successfully awakening, the bodybuilder students wore a wide grin on his face. He then slowly went to his seat amidst everyone's envious eyes. Then the ceremony master, Fire Mage, Roger Bell gestures to continue the awakening ceremony. Hearing that, the next student stood up from his seat and went towards the platform. Time progressed. More than half of the students completed the ceremony. Only a few of them awakened their mage power, while rest of them turned regular. From MC's perspective. From time to time, I noticed the students who awakened their mage power. I tried to etch their faces in my mind. Who knows, we might cross each other's path in future. Then suddenly, I noticed the chubby fellow from the neighboring street. He is from class B4. I try to recall his name. This fella, what is his name? As I raced my mind, I eventually found out. Lucas Brad, I mumbled under my breath. This guy, I thought he was awakened during the first ceremony. But it looks like he has failed. He is in class B4, better than mine. Maybe his academic grades are good. The only possibility I could think of. The other hand, Lucas Brad went towards the awakening stage. Isn't he from class B4? One of the teachers from class B5 inquired. Hearing that, the rest of the teachers turned their gaze towards the stage. Dave Wise, he too felt surprised. From the first ceremony, it's known that in the B-rank division, most of the awakened students are from class B4. That's why he is surprised to see a student from that class. After realizing that, he smiled helplessly. The class teacher of B4 is fortunate enough to have so many awakened students at the first ceremony itself. Now, the remaining students from his class are going to try their luck. The other hand, Lucas Brad, after arriving at the stage, he nervously stood waiting for the ceremony master's signal. Seeing that ceremony master, Roger Bell gestures to Lucas to continue. There is no need to teach, everyone learns from the first awakening itself. After confirming the ceremony master's response, Lucas Brad placed his hands on the mage power awakening stone. Suddenly, a bright light shone from the stone as usual, indicating the successful awakening. Seeking that, everyone turned their attention towards the display screen. They were eager to see what kind of mage power will be. So far, most of the students who awakened their mage power belong to elemental mage category. It's a common and wide-range profession, it doesn't give much surprise to them. So everyone is interested in seeing rare professions. Simultaneously, the display screen has changed. Fart Mage. Looking at the screen for a moment, a pin-drop silence remained in the ceremony hall. They couldn't make heads or tails for a moment. Then suddenly realization dawned upon everyone. Before someone from the student's side erupted in laughter. Ha, 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 I can't believe this is real. The student first broke out in laughter, followed by everyone. His contagious laughter couldn't stop others from laughing, including teachers. The entire hall burst out in laughter. The other hand, teachers sighed. B5 class teacher first broke out in laughter. Looks like class B4 will have a lucky star hereafter, he said with a smile. He really felt jealous of class B4, they have so many mages. He hated the smug look of the B4 class teacher every time he talked about his class. The other teachers who stood beside him also became speechless for a moment. Teacher Dave Wise begins to ponder about something. The other hand, Vincent. This. I stumbled suddenly due to sudden shock. I was looking forward to this guy's ability. Now looking at his ability and hearing everyone's laughter. It's better to remain regular than awaken waste power, I mumbled under my breath. Unlike others, I didn't laugh. But I begin to ponder seriously. It's belonged to physique category, probably a physique variant. I shook my head in pity. The other hand. Lucas Brad was stunned for a moment seeing his talent. Unlike others, he didn't get worried but embarrassed. He has an eternal love for food. He doesn't want to be a mage at all. He wants to spend his life by eating and sleeping. Then slowly he walked towards the talent detecting stone. Similar changes happened. For a moment a bright light showed on the talent awakening stone. A pale green color illuminates the stadium and the changes took place on the display screen. Talent level, middle bottom. Seeing that everyone sucked cold breath, Lucas Brad stood dazed. Middle level talent, he uttered in disbelief. For a moment, he thought he was better than everyone, at least talent-wise. The other hand, ceremony master Roger Bell was shocked. This is the first middle-level talent awakened in this ceremony. Everyone awakened with low-level talent. He etched the face of this kid in his mind. Having middle-level talents and above is sought by every organization in the world. Earlier laughter is replaced by dead silence in the hall. The other hand, Vincent. Fu asterisco kappa. This fella, is its joke or what? I uttered in disbelief. I got almost tired from these sudden mood changes. Fart power with middle-level talent, I smiled wryly. This feels unreal even thinking about it. But now it happens in reality. I couldn't help but imagine Lucas' future. How is he going to increase his mage power? By eating food. Damn. I couldn't help but smile helplessly. But thinking about getting attacked by fart power, I let out a small laugh. Ha, ha, ha. I really want to give thumbs up to this brother. He can enjoy everything except girls. I don't know how he will excel in that department. The other hand, teacher's side. B5 class teacher, can someone explain me? Is there any precedent for this power? He inquired in dumbfounded look. He couldn't believe his own eyes. Hearing the words of the B5 class teacher, none of the teachers beside him answered him. They themselves bewildered for a moment. Finally, one of the teachers said, well, what I'm worried about is that, isn't he going to be placed in Class A? When she said, a realization dawned upon them. At this time, B6 class teacher Dave Wise said with a sigh, there is nothing to worry about his power, at the end of the day he is a middle-level talent. Listening to the B6 class teacher explanation, some female teachers were embarrassed. While some male teachers gloated. They thought, at least their B-rank division is saved from the embarrassment. From MC's perspective. After the end of the laugh, a new realization dawned upon me. If what happened to Lucas Brad might happen to me next, then what should I do? My spine sent down cold shivers. No way, I don't want any weird mage power like a fart, I whispered to myself. Then I ponder, maybe I can have options with the help of the system. System, can I choose my mage power? I called out in my mind. Ding. Host, system can't choose host mage's power. Ding. Host, system can only raise host's talent and power level. Hearing that my mouth twitched, I felt disappointed. Well, the system is not at all omnipotent. Even it has its own limitations. But considering the operation of these two functions alone is heaven-defying. Looks like I really have no choice, I sighed to myself. Suddenly. System, what will happen? If I turned out to be regular, I wondered. Ding. Host, the possibility of host being regular is below 1%. Hearing the system words in my mind, I'm stunned. Well, I can understand the reason. Both of my parents were mages. And their mage level is good. Even my older brother had a smooth sailing so far. But my failure in the first awakening is the cause of all worry. Shaking my head, I put behind those negative thoughts. Then I begin to pay attention to the awakening ceremony. Time progressed. One by one students continues to participate. Among those students few awakened low-level talent, while others turned regular. The regulars were eventually placed into the D-rank division after the ceremony. By now, yet no one awakened the middle-level talent after Lucas Brad. Eventually, Vincent Carey's turn comes. After the person beside me fails to awaken his talent, he comes back dejectedly. Then next was my turn, so I rose from my seat and walked towards the stage. Predictably everyone's eyes falls on me. On the other hand, B6 class teacher Dave Wise. Can this kid be able to awaken his mage power? He mumbled under his breath. He knew Vincent's biodata. Both of his parents were mage and his older brother also mage. So, he was quite surprised when Vincent didn't awaken his talent in the first ceremony. So, he felt there must be a reason. But he didn't want to ask Vincent. Because, he thought Vincent Carey may awaken his talent in the second awakening ceremony. That's why he is looking forward to awakening this time. At the same time, I came in front of the Mage awakening stone. Under the eyes of Ceremony Master, Fire Mage Roger Bell. I placed my palms on the awakening stone. My heart begins to beat faster, my life trajectory depends on this moment. I begin silently to have hope in my heart. I don't want fart power. I don't want fart power. Suddenly, I felt a sudden warm current coursing through my vein, but in the next moment it disappears. I instantly understood it's the power of the stone. The next moment, I became excited. I felt a huge boulder lifted off my shoulder. Finally, I'm successful, I sighed in relief. But the next step is most important. A bright light illuminates, simultaneously changes took place in the display screen. Gravity Mage. Subtaboo. I uttered in disbelief as I looked at the screen. Unknowingly, Vincent Carey wore a wide grin on his face. His humble posture has undergone massive changes at this moment. When you can finally feel confident in yourself, there won't be a moment of hesitation anymore. Ding. The host is recognized to awaken the gravity power. Ding. Synchronization done, 1%. Ding. Synchronization done, 2%. Ding. Synchronization done, 28%. On the other hand, a loud exclamation broke out, oh my goodness. He awakens the subtaboo power. Students' mouths wide opened. They never thought after Lucas Brad there will be someone who can shock them to the core. Especially gravity, what kind of concept is this? They only get to learn about this in the class. They have never heard someone used it before. Various reactions fall on Vincent, mostly including envy, surprise, and disbelief, but there is no hate. He had no enemies among the students present here. On the other hand, manipulation of gravity, class teacher Dave Wise stunned for a moment. He hoped for Vincent to awaken the mage power. But right now looking at the screen, he didn't expect it to be it as subtaboo. He is shocked and feels he is worried for nothing. He finally sighed in relief. He can directly be transferred to the A-rank division, he mumbled under his breath. Unlike students, teachers knew about what exactly subtaboo meant. These were rare mage power. Not only rare but each one of them in this category was strong. Even a small basic spell is comparable to rank 2 spell or in some cases rank 3 spell of other powers. At the same time, there is a hint of surprise and expectation in the ceremony master and his assistant's eyes. Right now, the ceremony master decided to collect information about Vincent and later he will hand it over to his higher-ups. On the other hand, Lucas Brad's eyes popped out. So cool. His eyes were shone like stars. So far he had seen so many movies where the film hero uses his gravity power to smash the buildings around him. Right now, he really wants to see Vincent's gravity power. Like Vincent, he too knew about his background. He knew they were neighbors across the street. But they didn't cross paths with each other that much. I don't know what changed in me, but I feel unparalleled confidence in me now. For everyone, talent decides their fate. For me it's the magic power. Since I awakened subtaboo power now, I can act without unnecessarily lowering myself in front of others. Then with a slight grin on my face, I moved towards the talent awakening stone and placed my palms on it. A pale green color illuminates from the stone, indicating the talent. Simultaneously, changes take place in the display screen. Talent level, middle low. My spirit deepens even more now. Wow, even without a system, I can have smooth sailing in my career. This really feels good. Having a system with me now is just icing on the cake. When the display screen shows middle-level talent, a loud exclamation breaks out, another mid-grade talent, someone voiced out his opinion. Simultaneously, people begin to utter in disbelief. On the other hand, Ceremony Master Roger Bell got excited. In his session 2 variants with mid-grade talent were awakened. It's more awesome than the first awakening session. He deeply engraved this event in his heart. Later, he will urge the council to see the importance of the second awakening session. For that, this second awakening session will set an example for others. Now, he engraved the names of Vincent Carey and Lucas Brad in his mind. Later, he will submit a report to the council. Maybe they can recruit these 2 little fellows before graduation. He thought to himself. On the other hand, teachers sighed. B6 class teacher Dave Wise stunned in disbelief. What are the chances of awakening mid-grade talent during the second session? He wondered to himself. But today was a miracle. Everyone saw 2 events which are unprecedented in this area. Seeing Vincent's face, he sighed in relief. He was really worried for nothing. Second session is no cheaper than the first session. Hereafter people will re-evaluate the second session. Maybe in the future we can even see a third session before graduation. Just as he pondered, B5 class teacher's words echoed in his ears. You'll discover the inception of this content at N0V at Labin. Mr. Dave, congratulations, your student is amazing, he said with a slight envy. Hearing that, Mr. Dave Wise commented, thanks for your words, Mr. Leo. But he will later transfer to a rank division. Hearing his words, the rest of the teachers nodded. A rank division is filled with top-notch talents. Not necessarily have to be with high-grade talent. As long as they have mid-level talent and magic power, they can transfer to the A-rank division. Then teachers begin to congratulate Mr. Dave Wise one by one. Due to Vincent's stellar performance, people even forgot about another mid-grade talent, Lucas Brad. As Vincent steals the show, everyone discusses him. On the other hand, Lucas Brad becomes even more cheerful. His dream of seeing gravity power at close seems possible. It is easier now as both of them are going to place in the A-rank division. He decides to befriend Lucas at whatever means. From MC's perspective. At the same time, after successfully awakening the talent under everyone's fiery gazes, I went back to my seat. System, show me the process rate? I called out in my mind. Earlier when I awakened the gravity power, the process started, but I didn't want the reminder to constantly buzz in my head. So, I asked System to show me the process bar later. At the same time, System shows after hearing his commands. Ding. Synchronization done, 100%. Ding. The host's magic power synchronized. Ding. The host's magic power, gravity. Ding. The host's talent is detected. Ding. Synchronization done, 1%. Ding. Synchronization done, 3%. Seeing the gravity power is successfully synchronized, I sighed in relief. Then I shifted my attention toward the talent process. It will take 1 or 2 minutes to complete. I made a simple calculation in my mind. Soon, the first batch of ceremony ends after 3 people beside me awaken low-level talent with mage power. There are still quite a few people in the second and third batch. I believe they will continue the session till night. I believe each class has 30 people. After this session a major reshuffle is going to take place. Each year students graduate from the school. So, they left out a few vacancies in each class, which is filled by either new admission or awakening ceremony. After the completion of the ceremony, I stood up from my seat. I can't wait to go home and tell my parents. So, they can live a worry-free life hereafter. Just as people begin to disperse one by one, B6 class teacher Dave Wise came in front of Vincent. Vincent Carey, congratulations on your awakening. By the way, the headmaster requested your presence. He said with a smile. Hearing that I nodded. Class teacher, I believe it's about transfer, I inquired. Hearing that Mr. Dave Wise nodded. Then I followed him towards the headmaster's office. While following him on the way, I also inquired about the system status in my mind. Ding. Synchronization done, 100%. Ding. The host's talent is detected, middle-low. Ding. The host can see further information using status panel. After seeing the completion of synchronization, I smiled. Then I shifted focus to new information. System, what is it about status panel? I wondered in my mind. After confirming Vincent's words, the system shows the status panel. Status panel. Host's name, Vincent Carey. Magic power, gravity. Mage level, level 1 limiter, upgradable. Talent, middle-low, upgradable. Color, pale green. Strength, 10. Speed, 10. Stamina, 10. Vitality, 10. Intelligence, 10. Soul power, 10. Constitution, 10. Mana power -10. Core status, formless. Spells, 0. Slots, 1. Mental method, none. Seeing the status panel, I halted my footsteps for a moment. It's much more elaborate than I thought and my mind focuses on each information. On the other hand, Mr. Dave Wise saw Vincent standing in daze. Vincent? He called out his name in a loud tone. The status panel is really comprehensive. I can monitor my progress in detail. Just as I'm glued to it, I heard the class teacher's voice. Thanks to that, I remembered we were on our way to the headmaster's office. Ahem, it's nothing, teacher. I just forgot my stuff, I said with a slight apologetic tone. On the other hand, Class Dave wisely shook his head and gestured to Vincent to follow him. Seeing that he didn't mind it, my brows relaxed. I believe hereafter I won't be in his class. It's just a bit sad though, such a nice teacher. He won't interfere that much in the personal affairs of students. Especially he doesn't show any favoritism. I don't know what kind of teacher I'll be facing in Class A, hope he is not a greedy bastard. A rank division, I'm really looking forward to it. I mumbled under my breath. A few minutes later, we arrived in front of a glass building. It's the management building. Without wasting any time, class teacher entered the building. I too followed him. After passing a few rooms, he stopped in front of the brown door. A digital letter running through the display screen, mentioning it as headmaster's cabin. On the other hand, class teacher Dave Wise then informed the headmaster of his arrival within a few minutes. The door clicked open, seeing that class teacher motioning me to enter inside. Then we both stepped inside. This is the first time I have entered the headmaster's cabin. I'm just an ordinary dude, I won't cause unnecessary trouble. I'm just looking around the trophies. I heard a pleasant voice, I knew instinctively its headmaster's tone. So, I turned around and took a look at him. And what surprised me was that the class teacher was saying something to his ears. Upon hearing that, headmaster is nodding his head in happiness. The headmaster appears to be a middle-aged man and his name is Colin Sanders. He is probably 40 plus in age. He has distinctive crimson hair and eyes. I probably had a faint guess about his mage power, and there is also a sword scar below his left eye, which indicates that he is strong in combat. Looking at his well-built body and scarful face, it's hard to believe he is doing office work behind his desk. Perceiving my gaze, the headmaster looked at me and said, "You must be Vincent Carey, right? I'm glad that someone awakened a mid-level talent in Second Awakening. You did well." Then he stopped for a moment and added, "You must be wondering why are you here?" Hearing his words, I nodded my head in affirmation. To that he smiled and said, "You are going to be placed in a ranked division hereafter. I believe you have heard about it." "Headmaster, I just know the criteria to admit in Class A is to have mid-level talent," I said with a smile. "It's known to everyone. Why is he asking about it? Is there anything else?" "I don't know." On the other hand, class teacher Dave Wise stood in silence. His work is already done. Now, rest will be handled by Headmaster Collins. Headmaster Collins commented, "There were 180 students among the Rank A division, in which they are further divided into 30 each and placed in Class A1 to Class A6. To have good resources for yourself you need to get good ranking for that." Hearing that, I'm pleasantly surprised. These guys having middle-level talent is not enough. Why is there further competition? Is our school really cheap? My older brother didn't even say anything about it. Seeing Vincent's confused face, Headmaster Collins understood. His face turned solemn, he said, "Vincent?" Hearing that, I looked at him. I know he is going to reveal something. The Headmaster Collins said, "You know, people in a ranked division are sought by many forces. Even our schools are funded by various forces. So, when person is awakened he needs to choose his faction." Hearing that, I'm stunned. Isn't it a bit too early? I mumbled under my breath. On the other hand, Vincent's murmuring is heard by the headmaster. He smilingly said, "I know it's a bit too early. For people who got low-level talent, they got time in their hands. Forces won't show any interest in them unless they show good performance." Then he continued, "On the other hand, people with middle-level talent and above are pillars for many organizations. They were recruited early after their awakening." Hearing that, new realization is dawned upon me. Just as I'm digesting this information, then the headmaster revealed something which shocked me to the core. On the other hand, the headmaster further added, "I just looked at your profile. I knew both of your parents were healers. I believe they too part of some medical faction." Hearing that, I'm stunned. So, that is why my parents have been working in the same hospital for so many years. Then I recalled about my older brother. "Headmaster, then what about my older brother?" I asked in doubt. Hearing that, the headmaster smiled and nodded but didn't say anything. Seeing that, good guy, my cheap brother didn't even tell me anything. Don't tell me he and Sean's sister were in the same faction. Violet Heart College, is there any coincidence? I feel like I'm open to new mysteries. The headmaster gave some time to Vincent to digest the information. A couple of seconds later, he commented, "Vincent, I knew this information was shocking to you. But let me tell you something, these kind of information were restricted to regulars." I nodded hearing that. It's good to be a mage. Otherwise, I would have lived believing complete lies. On the other hand, the headmaster Collins said, coming back to the point, the 180 people in a ranked division belong to various factions. Now some of them have graduated, leaving behind empty slots. You and the other kid will be taking their place. Then he added, "I believe in a few hours, you will be getting several DMs. After going back home, discuss with your parents and choose a faction for you. Then you can inform me tomorrow morning. In the meantime, I'll be working to decide which class to put you in." Hearing that, I nodded. I thought I had crossed a major hurdle. But who would have thought I needed to cross another sea? Then the headmaster gestures to me to leave. He needs to discuss something with the class teacher. Hearing that, I left his cabin. After leaving the headmaster's cabin, I didn't plan on going to the class. Rather, I decided to head home. As per headmaster's words, I need to figure out the advantages and disadvantages of various forces. I thought about asking him earlier, but I knew the headmaster and class teacher won't say anything to me. Since they are also part of some force, they dare not to influence me. After sorting out my thoughts, I signed for emergency leave at school through my student account. Then I stride towards my home. Redwater Province's Greenleaf Hospital. Lila Carey has been treating her patients in the general ward since morning. After leaving home in the morning, she came to the hospital for her duty. Later, her husband, Brad, also met with her. After having some breakfast with her, he left for home after completing the night shift. The couple is responsible for overseeing the medical operations in the general ward. The general ward operates on patients who come up with injury and illness. The couples do preliminary work and treat and cure the disease if possible. Otherwise, the patients were shifted to other wards under level 5 limiter, healer mage. At this time, Lila Carey is currently treating old age women. She was bitten by an unknown insect which caused her severe pain and skin issues. While she is treating her patient, her watch buzzes with notification. Seeing that, she immediately tapped it to view. It was from the management office. What is up with them? They asked for my presence, she whispered to herself. Then she shifted her mind back to old age women. After using her healing power, she controlled the pain issue, but for skin issues a lot of work needs to be done. She won't use her power unless she verifies her condition. After stabilizing the condition, she stood up from the seat and asked her assistants to take care of the ward. Then she headed straight towards the management office. The Greenleaf Hospital is divided into 4 blocks. The first block is for emergency treatments and surgery, and the second block is for treating normal illness and bite marks. And the third block is for the management office, and the fourth block is for the mortuary. The first 2 blocks were mains blocks, both of them headed by 2 vice deans level 5 limiters, healer mage. There were several level 4 limiters, healer mage under their commands. Most importantly, the dean of the Greenleaf Hospital is respected level 6 limiter, healer mage. On the other hand, the management block handles the office's work, which includes management, finance, operational and legal issues. Lastly, the mortuary blocks handled with corpse of deceased. The 2 main blocks each has 10 floors in operation, while the management deals with office issue, so it has 6 floors. Finally, the mortuary block has 3 floors, and also compared to other blocks it has the lowest manpower. Lila Carey, after exiting from the general block, she drives a mini car towards the management office. While they can use mage power to reach the destination in an instant, but in the hospital zone even mage has to follow some strict instructions and regulations. Greenleaf Hospital takes care of both humans and mage populations in the Redwater Province. In a few minutes, she reached the management block. Each block has some distance from each other. Since the Greenleaf campus is huge, they had no choice but to follow the rules and regulations. After arriving in front of the management block, she stepped out of the car and walked towards the front desk. On the other hand, the female receptionist recognized her immediately due to her white coat and badge. She then stood up from her seat and greeted her. "Dr. Lila, I have been instructed to receive you upon your arrival," she said with a smile. Hearing that, Lila Carey smiled and followed her to the waiting area. She does not mind calling her doctor. Usually the term doctor is used by the human population and healer is used by the mage population. The female receptionist then gestures to her to take a seat and wait for a while. After that, she left the waiting room and informed the legal team. On the other hand, Lila Carey sat in her seat in curiosity. Usually healers don't have much contact with the management team. The only thing she could think of in her mind is about paycheck. For promotion and other things you need to get a breakthrough in your limit for that. Right now, she is not in a breakthrough. Shaking her head, she shut off her eyes for a moment. At the 5th floor, vice head's office, a female's official is working behind her desk. She is the current vice head of the legal team for Greenleaf Hospital. Her name is Martha Curry, a poison plant type level 4 limiter mage. She has black curly hair and eyes. She is wearing black tuxedo. Being a combat mage, she has a muscular built body. She is around 5.6 foot tall in height. She has slightly tanned skin. Martha Curry is a strict woman in nature. Being part of the legal team also her decision and ambition. At first she wanted to be a healer, but her mage talent deals with poison plant. So when it comes to healing other than treating some poison cases, she can't treat other major cases. Because of that, she decided to focus on the combat aspect. Later, she joined the legal team where you are authorized to use mage power, and top of it, as per her wish, she can also be part of the medical team. At this time, while working on the screen, she received a sudden call. After confirming it was from the receptionist, she attended it immediately. On the other hand, the female receptionist informs the arrival of Dr. Lila Carey. Hearing that, Martha instructed her to tell Lila Carey to visit her office. After ending the call, Martha opened a new intel folder, where information about Vincent Carey's second awakening is detailed. Greenleaf Hospital's management block. Right now, Martha Curry received intel from her organization. Brad and Lila's young son become awakened during the second ceremony. Looking at his file in curiosity, Martha murmured, Vincent Carey. Her gaze finally falls on talent and mage power. Seeing middle-low talent and gravity power highlighted in bold letters. She immediately thought of Lila Carey and she plans to congratulate her. It's a pity that his power is not useful to the Greenleaf Organization. The Greenleaf Organization is the medical force. They recruit talent related to their profession. Even for herself, if she doesn't have plant-type power, she wouldn't have entered the Greenleaf Hospital in the first place. But seeing Vincent Carey's middle talent, it's good to develop better relationships with their parents. Since they belong to the Greenleaf Organization. As long as the relationship is maintained, you can ask for assistance once he develops into a high-level mage. Just as she was thinking about the future, she received notifications. Upon seeing that, she gave permission. Creak. The door slid open, Lila Carey stepped inside and her gaze immediately fell on Martha Carey. Then she bowed and greeted her, Vice Head, it's nice see you. But I don't know why you ask for my presence. She said with a slight nervousness on her face. She hopes for not hearing any bad news. Their older son just got admitted into the academy. Now, he can take care of himself. But still they have to focus on their young son Vincent. Various thoughts run through her mind. On the other hand, hearing Lila's words, Martha smiled. She pointed and asked her to take a seat. The other hand, Lila sat in her seat nervously. Upon seeing Lila's tensed face, Martha understood. Dr. Lila, there is nothing to worry about. I just wanted to say congratulations for your son's achievement. Martha said with a pleasant smile on her face. On the other hand, Lila immediately thought of her old son, Brain Carey. Hearing that he just went to the Violet Heart Academy. Recalling that, she let go of her worry and responds with a smile, there is still a long way for him to go. But I believe in him. Brian will achieve some great things in his life. Martha Carey startled for a moment. She looks at Lila in a doubtful gaze. What's wrong? Lila inquires. Did you turn off your public notifications in the morning? Martha inquires. On the other hand, Lila nodded after hearing that. During her work she turned off her public message notification. Only her family and Greenleaf's officials can contact her. There will be no message from commercials. Hearing confirmation from Lila, Martha doesn't know whether to laugh or cry. She doesn't even know her son's awakening? Shall I tell her? She wondered. Upon seeing her nervousness, he let out a small chuckle and commented, just turn on your public message notification. You will understand for yourself. Lila doesn't know what to think. She just turned on her public messaging service. Ding. Her inbox is filled with numerous messages. For a moment, she is startled, then her gaze falls on Little Stargate High School. Seeing that, she hurriedly opened the message to view it. Little Stargate High School. Congratulations to Mr. Brad Carey and his family. Your son, Vincent Carey, has successfully awakened his talent as mage. So, on behalf of the school, we inform you that from tomorrow onwards Vincent Carey will be part of the A-rank division. To view the talent, click the link, svvp//Vincent Carey. Reading the message, she gets stupefied for a moment. Then her heart fills with happiness. Slowly, she begins to shed happy tears. Finally, her unruly brat broke his jinx. He looked even more dazzling than his older brother. She said to herself proudly. Then she finally clicks the link. Name, Vincent Carey. Power, gravity. Talent, middle-low. Class, a rank. Seeing that content, her eyes almost bulge out. Gravity? She stood up in surprise. She lost her composure viewing middle-level talent. Middle-level? My son has middle-level talent, and that too in sub-taboo power, she exclaimed in disbelief. She knows what that means. Her son can go step further than his parents, even beyond. Not trapping under limit for. She feels a huge weight lifted off from her shoulder. She immediately thinks about her husband. He will definitely drink himself to happiness. On the other hand, Martha smiled seeing her reaction. Looks like this little family will soar on hereafter. Middle-level talent is no joke? It's an entry point for huge organizations, she thought to herself. But she also understood the challenges of developing gravity power. Unless that kid joins big forces, it's impossible to break through in his life. Then she looked at Lila and said, Dr. Lila, now you know, your son awakened middle-level talent with gravity power. He has a bright future. Hearing that, Lila Carey immediately regained her composure and smiled embarrassingly. She now understood her meaning of congratulations. She answered, thanks Vice Head for your congrats. If not for your reminder, I don't know? I guess I would have waited till the evening. On the other hand, Martha gestures to her to sit. Then commented, apart from congratulations, I really want your son to join the good faction. It will be even better if he joins our ally. In that way, in the future we can take care of each other. Lila's expression turned solemn a little bit. She knew this would be another hurdle for her son to pass. Unlike herself and Brad, he has to rack his brain. She and Brad didn't face this difficulty during their time. The choice was also easy being healer. There were only a few medical factions to choose from at that time. Shaking her head, she looked at Martha and answered, "Don't worry, Vice Head. We will make a good decision." Martha smiled hearing that. Then after having a few conversations, Martha gave one day off to both parents. It will take almost a day to decide which faction to choose. So, she gave them a little time. I reached my home after leaving the headmaster's cabin. And the management approved my leave immediately. Looking at the speed of their approval, it seems like faction choosing is a big thing. Shaking my head, I entered inside our gate. After taking a few more steps I came to the door. I pressed the calling button. I believe my old man is sleeping due to the night shift. Thinking that I sighed, I knew the night shift had more payment than the day shift. I don't want my parents to have any burden anymore. Since I awaken mid-level talent, I hope in a few minutes I will receive numerous invitations from various forces. Just as I'm pondering it, creak, the door slid open. And a huge shadow hugged my body in the blink of an eye. I was startled for a moment. Then I looked down. Mom, I was taken back. She was hugging me tightly. At this time a new realization dawned on me. Looks like the school informed them. On the other hand, Lila Carey hugged her son tightly in happiness. After a few breaths she let it go and looked at her son's face clearly. There were some happy tears on her face. At this time, "Vincent, you really make me proud today." On the other hand, a loud voice came behind the door. Brad Carey was all smiles. Seeing both of their reactions, I sighed. I grabbed my mom's gentle hand and said, "Mom, let us go inside." After closing the door, all of us sat on our huge sofa. Looking at my parents, I said, "Both of you guys, you don't have to worry about me hereafter. I can take care of myself." Heading that, Mom, Lila Carey snorted immediately. She commented, "You brat, there is still a long way to go before you can take care of yourself." At the same time, Brad Carey said happily, "Vincent, you know I couldn't believe the news after reading your school's awakening report. I thought it was spam and a joke. Until your mom came back and told me. I realized the reality." He let out a huge laugh and added, "I don't know how Brian will react after knowing you have awakened mid-level talent with sub-taboo gravity power." Hearing my father and mother guess words, I smiled too. If not for a mighty system, I don't think it will ever be possible. I still feel my gravity power has a lot to do with the system and meteorite in the lab. At this time, my watch buzzes with several notifications one by one. Hearing that sound, I knew its invention from forces. On the other hand, Brad and Lila Carey looked at each other. They know it's time to decide the suitable faction for Vincent. I turned off the notification sound and looked at my parents and told them what the headmaster explained to me earlier. Hearing that both of them didn't show any surprise. "Mom," Lila Carey opened her mouth to start the topic, "Vincent, what do you want to do?" she said in a solemn tone. Hearing that I begin to seriously ponder. Obviously, I'm going to join the big forces. Only they can provide me with a good scholarship and training. On the other hand, Brad Carey commented, "Vincent, you got middle-level talent. Only by having a middle-grade mental method and above can you fully utilize your talent." Hearing that I nodded my head. There is also this aspect of training I need to consider. I called out in my mind, "System, does having a good mental method can affect the leveling up of the limit?" Ding. Host, having a good mental method can minimize the time to level up the limit. Ding. Even with basic mental methods, host can get a breakthrough, as long as the host meets with level up conditions. Hearing the system's answer, I understood the working. It's not at all surprising. By having a good mental method you can absorb the mana more easily. The mental method for mages in our world is divided into 6 grades. Heaven grade mental method, sky grade mental method, earth grade mental method, advanced grade mental method, middle grade mental method, low grade mental method. From these only low grade mental methods are free and available to the vast majority of the mage population. It's used for commercial purposes. And most of the major institutions have advanced and middle grade mental methods. But when it comes to advanced and above, I don't have any idea. Maybe these forces have some of them in their hands. Especially sky and heaven grade can be counted in numbers. And they are probably related to first mage ancestors. But I don't need to worry about that much. As long as I can fulfill the system's requirement to level up, I can easily break through my limits even without those good mental methods. As with each breakthrough, mage's lifespan increases by 100 years. Even my parents have more than 350 years of lifespan. So, I'm not worried about time either. At this time, "Vincent?" Mom, Lila Carey reaches out. Hearing that, I came back to reality and said, "I don't know which of them got the gravity mental method." On the other hand, Brad Carey answered, just take a look at those invitations. Maybe they can help you. Hearing that, I nodded and connected my watch with our smart TV. Soon, I opened my student's account and checked my inbox. Various forces had sent me their invitation. All of us are viewing it on our smart TV. The names of various surrounding forces were shown. Instead of viewing it one by one, I begin to scroll down the page. I want to see how many forces have sent me their invitation. On the other hand, seeing her son's actions, Lila Carey rolled her eyes. As she knows there is no time limit for sending the invitation. Even some forces can send their invitation later at night. There is no guarantee that all of them received the intel report at the same time. After scrolling down pages, I find out the harsh reality. Not many forces have sent me their invitation. Our country is so massive in size, it consists of several provinces. So, it is reasonable that many of them have not received their intel. On the other hand, looking at his son's reaction. Father, Brad commented, Vincent, first tell me, what do you want to do? Do you want to be in a combat field or other fields? Combat field, hearing that I said without any hesitation. Hearing that, father, Brad replied, good, let's see their message one by one. So far I have received 25 invitations. All consists of medium, small and few large forces. I looked at the large forces. There were 5 invitations from big forces. Such as 1. Adventure Hall, 2. Royal Force Hall, 3. Mage Union, 4. Dark League and 5. Yellow River Academy. Apart from these 5s, rest of the forces were divided into medium and small. I decided to join big forces. There is no need to take a look at them. From these forces, I knew the first 3. First, Adventure Hall deals with the hunting and selling of beasts. Second, Royal Forces are part of government forces. They do the job of overseeing law and order around the entire country. 3. Mage Union deals with the interest of Mage. It's a research organization. I don't know why these research people want to recruit me. I felt sudden goosebumps as I recalled the human experiment. These guys, I don't know what they will do in the dark. It's better not to join them. I don't want to be an experimental object. On the other hand, Vincent brought out the names of 5 big forces on the screen. Brad and Lila looked at each other. Unlike Vincent, both of them knew clearly about these 5 organizations. Both of their expressions become dignified for a moment. At this time, I turned around and asked my parents, Dad, Mom, do you know about Dark League and Yellow River Academy? Hearing that, Brad said in a solemn tone, Dark League is an underworld organization. Forget about joining their organization. Their people were hunted down by the government. You won't even have a good life if you join them. Hearing my father's words, my expression becomes serious. Earlier, I thought I needed to be wary of researchers. But it looks like I need to be safe from an underworld organization. On the other hand, Mom, Lila Carey commented, these 5 forces are part of our country. But I think they were mostly branches. Maybe their headquarters are situated in some other large country. Hearing that, I nodded. It's impossible to know the inside details of each organization. They operate in secrecy. Even in the media, people were banned from disclosing any details regarding them. So, even in the large population, people were clueless about a lot of things. Shaking my head, so, what do you think of Yellow River Academy? I feel it must be a mage college. It's an elite institution. I heard it's several grades above your brother's Violet Heart Academy. Father, Brad said with a smile. Mom also nodded her head in approval. She also feels that this might be a good choice for her son. Seeing their response, I opened their invitation. Yellow River Academy. Congratulations, Carey family. Upon confirming Mr. Vincent Carey's successful awakening of gravity power with middle-level talent, we like to give him an opportunity to join our academy once he graduates from the school. If he joins our academy, he will be trained under special mage class, and he will be entitled to have corresponding resources such as mental method, spells and other rare magical spars. If you decide to join our academy, please send a confirmation reply to this message as soon as possible. Therefore, your special class seat will be reserved immediately. Thank you. Special class, I mumbled under my breath. On the other hand, both of his parents were also reading the invitation. At this same time, Mom, Lila Carey opened her mouth. Wow, looks like they want to admit you in their special program. And the treatment they give to their special class students is also good. Hearing that, I nodded. I just hope they have mental methods and spells for gravity. Listening to his son's words, Father, Brad commented, factions won't send their invitation without checking their library. Especially, considering the grade of the Yellow River Academy. I believe they have a gravity mental method, otherwise they won't even ask you to join in their special class program. Then I asked, so, what about Mage Union? Mom, Lila answered, Mage Union is filled by old fogies. There are rarely any young mages there. Usually, young people choose an academy. It's good that you attracted the attention of this Yellow River Academy. Otherwise, the next best option would be the Adventure Hall, where you need to earn corresponding credits before gaining something from them. It's good that I heard my parents' opinions. They must have gained experience from their circle. Shaking my head, I begin to ponder. Obviously, both of my parents talked highly of this academy. And they don't even say anything about the Royal Force. Mom doesn't like Mage Union and Adventure Hall. The only good thing left is Yellow River Academy. They specifically mentioned mental methods and other resources. So, I didn't hesitate any longer and said, okay, Dad, Mom. I will join Yellow River Academy. Hearing Vincent's words, both of his parents smiled and felt relaxed. They knew the academy was mostly a neutral force. They won't indulge in conflict with other big forces. So, they thought Vincent would be saved from various schemes and plots. Then they both happily approved their son's decision. After getting my parents' consent, I sent a reply to their invitation. It would be good if they send me some info about their special class to this reply. I received immediate response mail from Yellow River Academy welcoming my decision to join them. They also stated that they will send details a few days later regarding the special class. I sighed in relief reading that. It's not even 5 minutes since I sent the confirmation message. But I didn't expect to get such an immediate response. I mumbled under my breath. Then I said to my parents, Mom, Dad. They just sent me a confirmation mail now. I showed the mail to my parents. On the other hand, Brad and Lila. Both of them read the mail nervously. But after seeing there is no extra clause and conditions, a bright smile blossomed on their faces. Father, Brad let out a chuckle. Vincent, now you can rest assured. Your career has been set. Just focus on increasing your knowledge about our mage world before you graduate from the school, Father, Brad Carey said with a smile. At this time Mom, Lila Carey shouted, all right, everyone. The discussion time is over. Now, let's continue our work. Then she added, looking at her son, Vincent, I'm going to make your favorite dish for dinner. After saying that she went to the kitchen to prepare ingredients. I smiled hearing my parents' words. Everything is good as long as they are happy. Then after saying something to my dad, I went to my room. My room is a medium-sized one. I love being minimalist. I don't buy unnecessary things to decorate my room. I have one king-size bed, a television with an inbuilt virtual system and other necessary gadgets, a small couch, cupboards, tables and chairs. I'm going to spend the rest of my time surfing the net until dinner. After making up my mind, I lay down on my bed comfortably. Time progressed. At dinner time, Vincent's brother Brian already returned from college some time ago. Both of the parents didn't disclose about Vincent's awakening when asked by Brian. While seeing his parents' silence, Brian thought Vincent didn't awaken his talent and became regular. He completely misunderstood. But Brad and Lila want to disclose news at the dining table. On the other hand, when dinner time came, I didn't wait for my mom to call me. Since I'm completely famished, I decided to go by myself. I walked downstairs to reach the dining room. As my eyes fall on the dining table, I spotted my cheap elder brother Brian. Brian, how was your first day at college? I inquired about his college in curiosity. I want to know whether Violet Hart College gave him any mental method. On the other hand, Brian Carey was completely stupefied by hearing brother's question. What happened to him? I thought he must have been sulking due to his failed awakening. He thought to himself. Brian? I called out his name again as I sat in my chair. Hearing his name once again, Brian answered, oh, my day has been good. But I hadn't expected there to be a lot of mages in my class. Listening to my brother's words, my curiosity further increased. I asked, hey, can you tell me more? And at this point of time, my father also joined us. It's been a long time since we had family dinner together. Usually, one of them is absent. On the other hand, Father Brad Carey gestures to his son to continue this topic. He is also interested in hearing about his college. Seeing his father also wanting to hear about his college, Brad smiled and continued, since I have awakened Earth elemental power. I was placed in our class called Earth Hall. There were a total of 250 students in our class, consisting of various talent levels. Goodness, I was taken back. How is he going to get resources in that environment? Looks like there is going to be a dogfight. It is just one branch of Mage. I can't imagine competition in other halls. Then I asked, are the rest of the mages freshmen? Brian nodded his head hearing that. Yup, we were placed in a freshman block. We will graduate after 6 long years of training and studies. There were also senior students in our campus and they had their own block for their training and studies. He explained with a smile. Hearing that, I couldn't help but nod my head in approval. On the other hand, my father didn't make any comments. He has been hearing in silence since the beginning of the topic. Brian confused seeing Vincent's reaction. Why is he so eager to hear about my college? He thought to himself. At this time, Mom Lila brought the dinner to the table. Then the family of 4 began to eat dinner. While Vincent and his family are having a peaceful dinner together. On the other hand, a sinister plan is being hatched by the headmaster of the Little Star Gate High School, Colin Sanders. On records, he hasn't joined any factions officially. But behind the scenes he is one of the henchmen of the Dark League faction. The Dark League faction that he has been part of is the only branch office operating in the country. He is also the one who sent intel to his organization about Vincent's awakening. The reason for his action is that Vincent joins Dark League. He will get a good share of the commission. But all of this good happening was related to Vincent. If he didn't join, then it will cost him a good deal of opportunity. So, Colin Sanders has been hatching a backup plan to brainwash him. He knew about Vincent's activities in school before awakening. His belief of Vincent was naive, humble and cowardly kid. So he thought if Vincent selects another organization, he can brainwash him during his remaining time in school. After all, Dark League is an underworld organization. They don't have shackles such as policy and conditions. Majority of the mages from Dark League were evicted from their original organization. While we were having dinner together, Mum and Dad both looked at me. From their gazes, I understand that they want me to reveal the good news. But seeing their smile, I sighed. Looks like I can't continue the suspense any longer? I whispered to myself in a low tone. On the other hand, Brian Carey is gulping down his food, unaware of their behavior. Then I stared at my brother and said, Brian, I have something to tell you. I told him without any excitement on my face. While Brad and Lila Carey want to see their elder son's reaction. Listening to his brother's words, Brian straightened up his back and asked, What's up? Is it about your awakening? Hearing that, I nodded my head. Before I opened my mouth to reveal the news, my brother continued to say, Don't worry. It's okay to be irregular. Nothing to be ashamed of. After uttering that, he sighed deeply. At this point of time, Lila Carey couldn't contain her laughter. While Brad Carey also smiled, shaking his head. Listening to my brother's words, I became speechless for a moment. Good, brother. He really thought I'm a waste. And what's so good about being regular? This guy clearly knows the lifespan of humans is nothing compared to mages. Even low-level mage have a better lifespan than healthy humans. On the other hand, Brian stopped eating his food when he heard his mom's laughter. He was stunned. Earlier he thought the atmosphere was going to be solemn because of Vincent's failure. But, now he is really confused. He looked at his mother and asked, Mom, what's going on? Lila Carey stopped smiling and looked at both of her sons. She then stared at Brian and revealed, Vincent has successfully awakened his mage talent. Lila's words rang like thunder in Brian's ears. What? Is it even real? He was taken back completely. Then he looked at his parents and brother's smiling face. Goodness. He mumbled under his breath. Then he said to Vincent, Here, I thought you had failed. So, I didn't ask about your awakening ceremony. Brian added further, So, how was it? The ceremony went well. I have awakened the gravity power with middle-level talent. I said to my brother with a smile. Ting. Brian dropped his silver spoon on the table. Why are you even joking on this matter? Tell me your real ability? Brian inquired with a serious look on his face. He didn't even believe his words. He knew Vincent likes to joke around. He won't reveal until he presses further. Seeing my brother's disbelief, I don't know what to say further. My cheap brother really thinks I'm a waste. So, without explaining him any further, I looked at my parents and said, Dad, Mom. You guys can tell him. Seeing Vincent's attitude, Brian too looks at his parents. Then both father, Brad and Mum, Lila Carey explained the good news to him in detail. They have also informed him about Vincent's admission in Yellow River Academy at the capital. At first Brian's expression was normal, when Lila confirmed Vincent's successful awakening by showing his school's congratulatory message. Brian's expression changes drastically for good. Brian laughed happily hearing that. Vincent, I always had a suspicion in my heart. Born of mage family, how come you didn't awaken your talent during the first ceremony itself? He said with a slight emotion. Then he added, But, now look at your success. I believe the first ceremony is not foolproof at all. People really can awaken their talent during the second ceremony. It looks like some people really had dormant period, slow awakening of talent, in their life. Brian naturally happy due to his brother's success. He knew both of his parents worked hard to save money for his college admission. The necessary qualifications for a mage to admit into the college, one needs to have talent and background. If not background, you need to at least find a way to generate money. He was really worried about his parents. They spent their entire savings on him. Due to that, it already took a considerable toll on them. And they need to work overtime to save money for his younger brother too. Earlier, he mentally prepared himself to do some part-time work to help his parents to ease some of their burdens. But right now, everything has changed. Brian then looked at his parents and said smiling, "Mum, Dad, I think you guys can finally take some vacations." Hearing my brother's words, I didn't say anything. But when talking about Mum and Dad, I also nodded my head in approval. While Brad and Lila understood his meaning behind his words. It's true that they can relax hereafter. But they didn't say anything other than smiling. Finally, Father Brad changed the topic. "Vincent, what are your plans for the next 2 years until your college admission?" Hearing that, I shook my head and commented, "I really don't know for the time being. But the headmaster earlier today told me that I will be placed in a ranked division tomorrow." At this time, Brian interjected by saying, "Since you are going to be in a class, it's a good opportunity for you to compete in a scholarship competition." Hearing a surprise glint flashes before my eyes. "Scholarship?" I said. On the other hand, Brian nodded his head and answered, "Yes, scholarship for college. If you win, the school will reward you with some good amount of money. But sadly, it's only available for people belong to a ranked division." Hearing that, I nodded. At first I didn't have any idea. But now I made up my mind to compete for it. At least, in this way, I can save some money for my parents. At this time, Mom, Lila commented, "Oh, yes, Vincent. I forgot to tell you earlier. Our hospital's legal team's vice head congratulated me for your awakening. She also wished, if there is any opportunity in future, you can work with Greenleaf Organization." "Alright, Mom. It's both of your organization. If there is any opportunity in future, I will do it, don't worry about it," I assured her with a smile. Next morning, I woke up a bit late, then immediately rushed to the shower. I stepped out of the bath after having a good bath. Today is going to be great. I can't wait to wipe out the smug face of Sean. My lips curve a little thinking about what's going to happen in school. I must teach him a good lesson for what he had done to me. It's my turn to be a bully. Hereafter, there is no need to humble myself, I ponder as I begin to get ready for school. Sometime later, after tidying up everything, I walked downstairs to have a quick breakfast before going out. All three of them were present at the dining table. After greeting everyone, I sat on my chair to eat. Yesterday, both Mom and Dad had good free time. But now they are going back to work. Once I get stronger, I will try to find ways to break their limit. "Vincent, I thought you would change after awakening. But you proved me wrong, Mom," Lila Carey said with a frown face. "Good brother, why are you late?" Brian said with a smile. "Sorry, Mom. I had a good sleep. So, I forgot the time," I said in a hurry as I began to gulp down the food. I said, "Brother, what about you?" I thought he had already left for college. "Well, there is still some time left for me to leave," Brian answered. "While, Father, Brad Carey is busy reading the news. He didn't join their conversations." Soon, Lila Carey joined the table to have breakfast with them. Several minutes later, I entered inside the school campus. The school is the same as yesterday, there is no shadow of the second awakening ceremony. Teachers and students can be seen entering the campus. For a moment, I shifted my gaze towards my former class B6. I let out a deep sigh, thinking that things are going to change from today onwards. Shaking my head, instead of going straight to my class, I walked towards the headmaster's cabin. First I need to inform him about my decision. Then let's see in which class they are going to place me in. There are a total of 6 classes in the A-rank division. I believe I may be placed in class A2. While walking on the way, I called out the system once again in my mind. "System, show me the status panel." Ding. The host's voice is recognized. Status panel. Host's name, Vincent Carey. Magic power, gravity. Mage level, level 1 limiter, upgradable. Talent, middle low, upgradable. Color, pale green. Strength, 10. Speed, 10. Stamina, 10. Vitality, 10. Intelligence, 10. Soul power, 10. Constitution, 10. Mana power -10. Core status, formless. Spells, 0. Slots, 1. Mental method, none. My strength attribute is at 10. I don't know whether I can take a punch from Sean, I mumbled under my breath. That guy has a physique attribute, I believe his status must be higher than other mages. A few minutes later, I reached his cabin. I knocked on the door. The door slid open the next second. I walked inside the room. "Oh, Vincent. Have you decided?" The headmaster Collins asked with huge expectation. His cunning eyes flashed with various thoughts on how to rope him into his group. I nodded hearing his words, and then I said, "I have selected Yellow River Academy for my future." For a moment, the smile on Collins' face solidified then returned back to normal in the next second. "Yellow River Academy, eh?" Ahem, they too are considered as a big faction. Well, now that you have selected, it's time for you to go to Class A2. The headmaster Collins said with a wide grin. What? I was taken back internally. Though, I didn't find anything wrong with his expression. For a moment, I knitted my eyebrows in confusion. Why not Class A1? Seeing a confused look on Vincent's face, the headmaster Collins sneered in his heart, this is just the beginning. I'll block all the ways up for him until he has no to request for my help. Then he immediately gestures to Vincent to go back to his class. I left his cabin before I could say anything. What's going on? I spoke to myself on the way. Well, logically it doesn't matter in which class I'm placed in. As long as you are in the A-ranked division, you are naturally eligible for the scholarship program. So, I didn't take it to heart. For a while, I couldn't help but think of 30 people in Class A1. In what way they are better than me? I'm a top-notch talent in this school. I even got selected in Yellow River Academy. So, why this discrimination? I don't know whether I'm imagining it or if there is some reasonable reason for this situation. Shaking my head, I made my way towards the new Class A2. When Vincent left the headmaster's cabin, Colin's expression changed drastically. I never thought those fellows, Yellow River Academy, would throw an olive leaf to him. Since he has chosen a big faction, it will be difficult to do anything against him openly. Otherwise, my cover will be exposed. Gritting his teeth, he mumbled, since I have thrown him into Class A2, it will raise further eyebrows. I need to cover it up with logical reasons. So, they can only blame it on his, Vincent, bad luck. Vincent, oh Vincent, I have made huge plans for you. After mumbling that, he shut off his eyes. On the way, I found the entrance to Class A2. Students were going inside their class. In an instant, I felt beaming energy emitting from their body. Have they already started to practice in the mental method? I mumbled. Then I didn't stare at them for any long, rather I entered the class. As I stepped my foot inside, I found numerous gazes set on me. I feel those gazes were scrutinizing me rather than welcoming. Feeling those gazes, I got irritated. But suddenly, Vincent, you too got transferred to this class. A cheerful voice rang in my ears. I shifted my gaze towards the person. What is he doing here? I was stunned to see the person. He is none other than Lucas Brad, Fart Mage, who awakened the same mid-level talent as mine. Lucas, on the other hand, gestures to Vincent to come sit with him. He already saved a seat for Vincent beside him. Instead of separate tables and chairs, this class was built in the model of seminar hall. Students can sit wherever they like to sit. I sighed and walked up to him. Seeing there is no one beside him, I was surprised that others didn't want to sit with him or he saved a seat for me in particular. But I didn't ask, I sat beside him comfortably. Seeing two new guys talking comfortably, the rest of the students quickly begin to murmur among themselves. After looking around for a moment, I turned to Fatty and asked, how come you are here? He. Lucas Brad let out a small laugh. There is no vacant spot available in Class A1 at this moment. So, the headmaster, having no choice, put me into this class. Since we are having the same talent, I knew you were going to be transferred to this class too. Lucas Brad said with a knowing smile. Then grabbed handful of chips to eat slowly. Hearing that, I nodded. Since it's a legit reason, I don't have any problem with it. But my gut feeling tells me that things are not simply as it looks, there is something more to that. But right now it's futile to stress my mind on this matter. I can deal with it slowly. Do all the students in Class A1 have middle-level talent? I inquired Fatty. This guy looks chubby and all, but he has a knack for collecting information. For a moment, Lucas stopped eating his snack. He nodded while hearing his words. Sadly, yes. All of them have middle-level talent with good upgradable type magic profession. That's why there is no vacancy at this moment. But one good thing though, some will graduate next year from Class A1. So, we have to wait until then. Fatty said with a sigh. But on the other hand, he is also happy to spend time with Vincent. Earlier he hoped for this to happen. I can see gravity power closely from now on. Hearing Fatty's words, I got a certain understanding of what's going on. So, Class A1 is filled with top-layer cream. And here in Class A2, students have middle-level talent. But their magic profession is somewhat different. In our world, not every magic professional has their own suitable mental method. So, for them there is no 100% guarantee in future path progression. For now, based upon some percentage of magic path progression, Class A1 to Class A6 is divided. For example, people who have awakened a particular magic profession. To have progression by breaking their limit in the mage path, they need corresponding mental methods to practice. That's why I believe people in Class A1 will have a suitable mental method for them in future. Thereafter they will have smooth magic path progression. While I'm pondering deeply, at this time class becomes quiet for a moment. I knitted my eyebrows to look ahead. I knew instinctively what's happening. A good-looking petite figure stepped inside the classroom. She is 5.8 foot tall in height, having blonde hair and distinct blue eyes. Her face looked gorgeous. She wore a black tuxedo. From looking at her dress, she looked more like a businesswoman than our class teacher. But all her assets were covered properly due to that. "Hi everyone. I'm Adriana Rivers and your class A2's class teacher," she said with a charming smile while looking at Vincent Carey and Lucas Brad. Since they are new to the class, they don't know anything. So, she decides to introduce herself first. After saying that, Ms. Rivers looked around everyone for a moment, then commented, "I believe, all of you knew at this point. Due to lack of vacancy in Class A1, Vincent Carey and Lucas Brad, both of them officially shifted to our class. They will be studying here for 1 year. Before they get back into Class A1, I hope all of you get along well with them." Saying that, she looks at Vincent and Lucas for response. Rest of the students also turned their necks to observe their new classmates. Feeling her gaze, both of us stood one by one to introduce ourselves a little bit. After gaining a good response, then Ms. Rivers begins to conduct her lesson. I sighed looking at Ms. Rivers. She has an exact temperament like class teacher Dave Wise, which can ease our nerves. After clearing my thoughts, I begin to concentrate on class. While some focused their attention on class, there were some people who began to ponder about useless things. 2 rows behind Vincent and Lucas' seat. "Bro, what will happen if these 2 new guys decide to challenge your position as our class leader?" Timothy said with a worry. Hearing that the leader Peterson snorted immediately by saying, "What are you afraid of? Haven't you heard Ms. Rivers' words? Those guys will study here for 1 year. I don't think they will be involved in something like this. No one can take my leadership position," he added further in a harsh tone. His friend Timothy sighed in relief hearing that. He really doesn't want to offend Class A1 guys. Already those people from Class A1 had some tiff with our class. From time to time, they target our class. What would happen if these new guys were friends with them? Timothy made a plan in his mind, that he will collect information about these 2. If they really had some interaction with students from Class A1, he will inform Peterson immediately. But he doesn't know that on the other hand, Peterson also had the same thoughts running through his mind. Because he doesn't want to get beaten up by those guys from Class A1. The classes have been going on for a while. Eventually, the break time comes. Ms. Rivers left the class after conducting her lesson. One by one students stepped out of the class to take a break. Seeing that I decided to take a breath of fresh air. "Let's go outside for a while." I patted Lucas's shoulder. Hearing that, Lucas nodded and followed behind him. Which left noticed by the team leader, Peterson and his friend Timothy. After stepping out of the class, we walked along the hallway. I suddenly thought of something. "Lucas, which organization have you selected?" I asked him with expectation. I'm not interfering in his secret. The school has a database for everyone. As long as you ask someone in the management to go through it, you can easily find out the details. But it's a hassle. The other hand, this matter can't be kept a secret for long. Once you graduate from school, then the information will be publicized to the public to attract the next batch of the students. Overall, it's a good marketing tactic. Hearing Vincent's question, Lucas doesn't feel offended but rather he is excited to reveal his big surprise. Lucas said, "I have selected Marian Food Chain." There was a booming smile on his face when he uttered those words. "Food Chain?" I was taken back. Saying Vincent stunadlug, Lucas lauga, Then he turned around to see whether anyone was near them. After confirming the students were minding their own business and there is no one glancing at their side, Lucas said to Vincent in a solemn tone, "Don't underestimate my organization. The size of the force is not less than any of the big forces in our country. Unlike other forces who got rated in terms of combat ability, this faction is rated in terms of wealth. Marian Food Chain is an economic giant." At first I doubted whether his love for food was clouding his judgment. But now listening to his words, I'm glad that he is still using his brain. Then I asked in curiosity, "So, what about the mental method?" I asked a straightforward question. Lucas stopped for a while, he hesitated whether to tell him or not. But finally he decided to say a few things. He answered, "Yup, they have a suitable mental method for me. That's one of the reasons why I had chosen their faction. But they also told me that they will support me with their resources." After saying that, Lucas didn't explain further. He already revealed enough things. He already decided to be friends with Vincent. Since he knew him as a neighbor, he thought Vincent was a good guy. So, he revealed a bit of his information to gain his trust. I didn't expect to be okay with it. He didn't feel any anger over it. My lips rose a little bit thinking that, this fatty is not bad. Since he told his information, I decided to reveal a bit of mine. But suddenly at this point of time, I felt someone's gaze on me. I immediately tilted my neck to look at the person. Who is this guy? I wondered. Observing Vincent's gaze, Lucas finds out the identity of the person. The other hand, Timothy got flustered by being exposed early. He didn't expect them to find out soon. He turned around and walked away from this place to his class. At first, he decided to follow these two fellows to see whether they were going towards the 6th floor. The first floor/ground floor is for Class A6, second floor is for Class A5, third floor, Class A4, fourth floor, Class A3, fifth floor, Class A2 and last 6th floor is for Class A1. This entire building block is for a rank division. Apart from the classroom, each floor has their own training facilities, so that each student can train individually without worrying about lack of training resources. Because of this reason, Timothy worried whether Vincent and Lucas discuss seeing their friends in Class A1. The other hand, Lucas looked at Vincent and said, "He is Timothy and his buddy is our class leader." There is a teasing smile on his Lucas face. He knew what those guys were worried about. Before he came to Class A2, he had already gathered some useful information. Hearing his words, I knew about this nonsense, which I have already faced in my previous Class B6. I'm not interested in doing this kind of activity. He can have his leadership position. I'm not bothered to contend for it. Then it's almost time for the next class. Seeing that both of us walked back to our class. On the way, Fatty, Lucas got even more surprised. He feels Vincent is not easy to read. He thought he might be interested in asking about the guys. But now he didn't even bother about it. "Hey, are you really not interested in being a leader?" Fatty asked with a frown face. "I don't like to babysit everyone." I replied to him without turning my back. A moment later, we both got back into our seats. The rest of the students were also back in time. During break, some tried to strike up a conversation with us. But we didn't give them any opportunity to do so. "Yeah, I too feel you made the right decision," Lucas said in a solemn tone. I'm confused. Why is this Fatty all of a sudden? I knew there is a perk of being a leader. But I have a system in my hand. I don't need some special privileges to increase my strength. I want to strengthen the base and increase my knowledge about magic before joining the academy. Lucas's expression becomes dignified. While pondering, he begins to munch down some snacks. At this time, Ms. Rivers enters the class again for a second time. Seeing that Lucas commented, "I will fill you in on the details at the end of the school." I nodded, then I put my attention on the class. Ms. Rivers looked at her students and said, "Everyone, there will be weekly sparring sessions held at our training room by this weekend." Hearing her words, students exclaimed, some excited, and others worried. The sparring session is nothing but a combat class, where every mage student shows off their ability. Seeing the various reactions of her students, Ms. Rivers further added, "Note, this sparring session is important to determine your points. And the points will be included in the account while calculating your grade. So, you better prepare yourself." Lucas Brad on the other hand was surprised to hear her words. He has collected little information but this one is new to him. Isn't it too early to conduct challenges for scholarship offers? He wondered. Obviously, there is still 2 years' time until graduation. Which is plenty when he considers the actual time at the hands of the management. Shaking his head, "Anyway, it doesn't affect me. But it's interesting to watch his fight." He slightly glanced at Vincent. He is hoping to see gravity power in play at sparring session. Combat. It is not even the first day of class. Yet I'm hearing about fighting against your classmates. Well, I'm itching to try my hands at them. Having the system in my hands, I had no worry. It's better to attract attention, in this way I can get more resources at my hands. "System, show me the status panel." I called out in my mind. Ding. The host's voice is recognized. Status panel. Host's name, Vincent Carey. Magic power, gravity. Mage level, level 1 limiter, upgradable. Talent, middle low, upgradable. Color, pale green. Strength, 10. Speed, 10. Stamina, 10. Vitality, 10. Intelligence, 10. Soul power, 10. Constitution, 10. Mana power -10. Core status, formless. Spells, 0. Slots, 1. Mental method, none. Looking at the status I can understand my strength and weakness in an instant. Currently, all my attributes are at 10. I need to find a way to increase my status. Otherwise, it will be quite difficult to beat everyone despite having higher talent than others. I'm also worried about one important thing. I hope it won't be allowed during the sparring session. Unlike Brad and I, the rest of the students already joined some forces quite a while ago. There is no guarantee that they haven't practiced mental methods yet. If someone started practicing mental methods, then their basic attributes must have been increased. Then it will be impossible to stand against them. I don't know how many crouching tigers and hidden tigers are in our class. But I believe in our management they must have some fair plans in their hands. I saw Ms. Rivers gaze at me for a moment. Why don't I ask her? I wondered. Then I raised my hand the next instant to ask a question. Ms. Rivers is surprised to see his actions, but she is glad at least someone is not shying away from asking questions. What is it, Vincent? Do you have any questions? Ms. Rivers said. At that moment, everyone turned their heads to see Vincent. Some students were surprised to see Vincent raising his hand to ask a question. They thought Vincent wants to show off and steal limelight as he has better talent than them. Because of it, some of the students' eyes turned unkind. But on the other hand, there are also students in the class whose brain is working better than others. They begin to watch it in pure curiosity. Class teacher, I don't know about the sparring session. I'm just confused about whether the students who practiced the mental method were allowed to participate or not. I said with a solemn tone. Hiss. The atmosphere becomes so quiet all of a sudden. Everyone finds nothing wrong with the question. The one who got most surprised by the Vincent question was none other than Fatty, the Lucas Brad beside him. I thought this guy likes to be low-key. Did I guess wrong? Lucas said to himself. Hearing his question, Ms. Rivers understood his worry. She said, you don't need to worry about it. Obviously, in the sparring session not everyone can participate. The students who started practicing mental methods were naturally exempted. Then she continued to say, normally, students practice their mental method after graduation. But in some cases the organization doesn't like their members to waste time in school. So they allow them to practice mental methods from school itself. Students like them are considered to be half-graduated from the management. So, they are exempted from various programs. I sighed in relief by hearing her answer. Then the classes continued, one by one the lessons were conducted. Finally lunchtime came. Fatty and I walked towards our school canteen. The school canteen is huge in size, it's a common canteen to every student from Class A1 to Class D6. There is no lack of food, everyone can take their time to fill their stomachs. On the way we spotted many students from different blocks going towards the canteen. It can be recognized by the badge they are wearing. Like us, everyone had their badge attached to the chest showing their class. Such as A1, A2 and D5. We both wear A2 badges. A few minutes later, we both received our food plate. Let's go, there are a few empty seats at that table. Lucas gestures to Vincent to follow. There were already 3 students having their lunch. Among them one is female and the other 2 are males. Seeing them, both of us sat a little distance away from them. Just as we begin to eat, I heard a rude remark. Oh, isn't he the fart mage? The female student said with an annoying tone. She feels disgusted sitting beside someone like him. Won't her friends make fun of her? If they came to know about it. She stopped eating her food for a moment. The expressions of the other 2 students changed drastically after hearing their friend's words. Her words attracted everyone near us. Soon, a commotion broke out. People begin to point out their fingers at Lucas and discuss among themselves. Lucas Brad becomes tense, there is some anger, frustration and unwillingness in his heart. Finally, he couldn't hold out any longer. He looked straight into the eyes of a female student and said, "You bitch, mind your own business." Lucas is holding on to his anger. He is afraid that he will do something stupid. Hiss. The atmosphere around him becomes silent. Everyone was stupefied when they heard his scolding. Seeing that Fatty is standing up for himself, I didn't interfere in this scene. Because everyone here has the same talent but with different magic power. So, there is no need for him to back down. The other hand, I want to see what this foul-mouthed woman is going to do. The female student's face becomes distorted hearing his scolding. How dare that stinky bastard talk back to me? She thought to herself. Before she could do something, his friend beside him made his move. Crash. Lucas got smashed into the table in a blink of an eye. What happened? The crowd got completely gobsmacked. Some people didn't catch a thing with their eyes. I stood up from the seat and rushed to support Fatty to stand up. This guy got thrashed in the blink of an eye. No doubt the opposite party used magic power. Hey, isn't he Bruce Hill, the speed mage? Someone from the crowd recognized the trio. Why do the women look a little familiar? Few people begin to ponder. Since it's common canteen, not everyone can recognize students from other classes. Finally, the identity of the other 2 were revealed by their own classmates in the crowd. She is Chrissy Hart, the sound mage, and the male student beside her is Mark Spear, the power mage. What a powerful combo. Suddenly, the crowd sucked cold breath. Hey, it's students from Class A1. No wonder, they dare to act. Let us leave this place and it's better not to interfere in their fighting. The students from Class A3 advised everyone to back away from this place. Soon the area was cleared out, leaving the trio on one side and Vincent and Lucas on the other side. The other hand, vicious women, Chrissy Hart's lips rose, she is gloating. This bastard deserved much more lessons, she grunted in anger as she recalled his earlier words. While looking at this scene unfolding before his eyes, Mark Spear maintained his indifferent gaze. He looks at things very calmly as it feels like he is used to watch this method many times. Seeing me helping the fatty. Hey, who are you? I advised you not to interfere in my business. Bruce Hill said with an arrogant tone. I didn't put his words into my eyes. As I'm busy helping fatty. I found this fatty got bruised all over his face. But on the other hand, I also keenly listened to the crowd's words. Class A1A? He mumbled. It must be strength given by practicing the mental method, I confirmed something. At this time. Ding. The condition to activate the auxiliary function is met. Ding. The system activates an auxiliary function to support the host. Ding. The probe details, new auxiliary function is in operation. For a moment, my mind went blank. System, you told me there is no function beside three main functions. I scolded the system in my mind. Ding. The host, yes. System has only three main functions in this update. Ding. The system sensed the host's life in danger. The new auxiliary function activated as it met with conditions. I listened to the system's words carefully. Maybe I'm not careful with my words. After hearing it completely, I understand. Auxiliary? It's kind of support but not much heaven-defying compared to main functions. Suddenly, I thought of something. System, is there any other auxiliary function beside the probe function? I called out the system in my mind. Ding. The host, other functions yet to meet with conditions. I sighed in relief hearing that. I can manage with these functions until I get next update. At this time, seeing Vincent is spacing out. Vincent? Lucas called out in a hurry. He saw Bruce is getting impatient by receiving no response from Vincent. Hearing Fatty's words, I came back to my senses. I forget that I have to solve my current problem. I turned around and faced Bruce Hill. At the same time, I called out the system in my mind. System use probe function on this person in front of me. Probe details. Name, Bruce Hill. Magic power, speed. Mage level, level 1 limiter. Talent, middle low. Color, pale green. Strength, 15. Speed, 20. Stamina, 18. Vitality, 15. Intelligence, 10. Soul power, 10. Constitution, 10. Mana power -10, ongoing. Core status, 0.1%. Spells, hint and movement technique. Mental method, hint and speed art. My goodness. Seeing his secrets revealed before my eyes, I became breathless for a moment. I looked at his attributes, as my gaze fell on the speed points my expression condensed. I knew this guy's attributes were higher than a newly awakened person. Then I viewed the other attributes, the basic points of common attributes are higher. While intelligence, soul power and constitution have not changed. Looks like these attributes were difficult to level up. Then I noticed mana power which seems to be in progress, it can only happen after practicing mental methods. And next I lower my gaze to see the next information. It can even find the name of the mental method, even the system's auxiliary function is heaven-defying. I smiled wryly in my heart thinking that. Hinton? The name of the mental method and his spell technique seems to be from the same source. I wonder what organization he belongs to. All the things happened in a few seconds. Fortunately, this probe function is really helpful. I can avoid senseless fights with it. This guy's speed is twice of mine, it's futile to run from here or tackle him. My mind ran crazy to find a solution. Finally, I thought of something. Don't you think it's too much to attack someone without any reason? I said with a smile. Bruce sneered hearing Vincent's remarks, but he is hesitating a little bit. He doesn't know the identity of the person who is supporting this fat pig. He glanced at his friends, especially Chrissy. Perceiving his gaze the other hand Chrissy nodded and looked at Vincent. She knew about Lucas Brad even before his awakening. Because he is quite popular and known to everyone as a foodie. But who is this new guy? I have never seen him before. She thought to herself. I smirked seeing their hesitation. Looks like the fatty is not new to this kind of bullying, he had experienced this before. Then without minding them I pulled fatty towards another empty seat to have lunch, I'm famished. The crowd looks disappointed, they expected for a drama to happen here. But who would have thought these powerful trio is having some hesitation at this moment? Bruce Hill's face distorts perceiving the gazes from everyone. As the majority of the gazes were filled with no respect, their gazes were telling him that don't act like a fool. And in that moment, Bruce acted. He used his movement spell. Unlike other magic spells like elemental powers, where elemental mages use their spell for external means, such as wind, fire and water, etc., but for physique-attributed mages spells worked internally strengthening their body. Like combat exercises. When Bruce uses his speed spell, his movement becomes fast. In a blink of an eye he reaches Vincent and punches him in the face. Smash. I flew backwards and thrashed on the table the next moment. A muffled groan escaped from my mouth as I felt a splitting headache over my head. Somewhat silent crowd broke out in exclamation at this moment. They thought there is not going to be any drama anymore. But unexpectedly Bruce thrashed another guy. And at this late moment, someone recognized both Vincent and Lucas. It's none other than their classmate Timothy. Some time ago, he actually followed them from behind. But on the way, he missed their track. After slowly searching around the canteen premise he finally found the two newbies. But what greeted him at this moment completely stunned him. Earlier, he is worried about getting thrashed by the two newbies, but here they are getting thrashed by someone. He swallowed his saliva in fear. Then he slightly looked at the opponents they were facing. He notices the badge on their chest showing Class A1. His eyes flashes with a glint of surprise. What's happening here? Don't these guys know about this newbie talent, Vincent? He said to himself. While everyone watches the drama excitedly, on the other hand Bruce Hill is also satisfied by everyone's yes reaction. Mark is still maintaining his indifferent attitude. But Chrissy Hart begins to frown. She racks her brain to find the identity of the newbie. She is already aware of the Class A2 badges on their chest. But the other part is not minding them, he is not even revealing his identity. And suddenly she thought of something and looked at the crowd. She wants to find the other students from Class A2 in the crowds. She wants to hear about the newbie from them. Earlier, the transfer of Vincent to Class A2 is not known by everyone except school management. Only earlier in the morning, the students from Class A2 saw him for the first time in their class. So, it's yet to spread throughout the other classes in a ranked division. Chrissy Hart finally able to spot someone from Class A2 in the crowd. Isn't he the coward Timothy? Her eyes lit up immediately. Hey, Timothy, do you know him? She said in a loud tone, pointing her finger at Vincent. Everyone turned to Timothy hearing her voice, including Bruce and Mark. For a moment, Timothy becomes the center of attraction. He was already scared silly when he saw Vincent getting thrashed. Now, he is sweating even more. Perceiving hardened gaze from Chrissy Hart, Timothy blurts out in fear, he is Vincent Carey, the gravity mage. He just got transferred to our class early this morning. Hiss. The crowd sucked cold breath. No matter if it's taboo or sub-taboo, people who have awakened this power were highly respected and sought out by huge organizations. Especially, the highest glory for every mage in this world to walk out of our Yellow River planet and go to explore space. So, people with taboo/sub-taboo power have more advantages than the rest of them. It's rare for even to find someone who has awakened this talent. But the person in front of him is the holder of this power. No one dares to talk at this moment. Everyone is scared. It's no brainer to guess, Vincent already joined some big forces. Instead of getting on his good side, everyone watched him getting beaten from the sidelines. At this moment, most of them prayed not to get recognized by Vincent. Next moment, the crowd immediately ran away in different directions from the spot, leaving behind Timothy and the power trio on one side, Lucas and Vincent on the other side. Damn it. I cursed out loud. Vincent? Fatty came slowly to support me. Hearing my name, I opened my eyes slowly to see him. At that moment, I felt extreme wrath took over me. I slowly stood up from the ground with Lucas' support. I knew the crowd slipped away after hearing my identity. I looked at the person who revealed my identity to them. Fellow classmate? I recognized the badge in his chest. Timothy swallowed his saliva perceiving my gaze. The other hand, Bruce was extremely petrified. He thought he was thrashing some random person. But unfortunately he hit an iron plate. Chrissy Hart legs were trembling in fear, this fatty is actually friends with sub-taboo power. Even Mark has sweat beads dripping on his forehead continuously. His indifferent face was replaced by a tensed expression. Next my gaze sets on the trio, especially Bruce Hill. Seeing their panicked expression, I made an evil smirk, if not for this guy's attribute is higher than me. I wouldn't hesitate to fight back. Perceiving my gaze the peer trio trembled even more. There is one at this spot except 6 of them at this moment. Even the people who were having lunch earlier were also moved away from this area making this area a little isolated. Lucas Brad is gloating internally, what a flex, as expected of someone who awakened sub-taboo power. Even in movies no one dared to mess with the gravity mage. I made a good decision to have friendship with Vincent, Lucas laughed in his heart. Then after seeing their fear, I didn't say anything rather I walked along with Lucas Brad towards the clinic. I need to make sure there is no inside injury. The power trio friends bewildered watching Vincent's response. This guy didn't say anything. What does it mean? For the first time, Mark opened his mouth to comment. At this time, Chrissy panicked, she said, isn't he not going to get revenge? You bitch, because of you. I have offended someone that shouldn't be offended. Bruce cursed at her. He is now panicking even more than anyone. What to do? He crazily ran his mind to find the solution. And a moment later, seeing the disappearing back of Vincent and Lucas Brad, he said to his teammate, only leader can save us from this trouble now. Let's go meet him. Hearing that, Chrissy and Mark nodded. Then the trio left the canteen from another exit, leaving behind coward Timothy. Goodness, looking at their panic-stricken faces. I can confirm that earlier they don't know about Vincent's power, that stupid Bruce hit an iron plate this time without knowing anything. I should tell Peter about this, he will be happier than anyone else. Timothy uttered in happiness, then he left the spot immediately. Lucas Brad, on the other hand, supports Vincent to walk towards the clinic. On the way he commented, Vincent, I'm sorry. Because of me, you got dragged into this mess unnecessarily. Hearing that, I said, it's fine. But what I'm confused about is that the guy acted without any fear. Like if it's an ordinary guy, he will face no implications whatsoever. Hearing that, Lucas didn't say anything at this moment. He decided to tell Vincent some information after getting his treatment done. All of us are having middle-level talent here. And majority of us already agreed to join major organization. Knowing that still people are involved in bullying stuff like that. Is it our school really allowing this to happen? It's totally different from other ranked division block. Like my previous class B6, there is no infighting except some verbal threat, which I often faced from Sean. But the thing here in the A-ranked division is totally different. Fortunately, I have awakened sub-taboo power, which gives me superiority in some ways. If not for me wanting to have a school scholarship, I would have already requested a mental method from my organization. Sooner or later, I need to pay back this trio by tenfold. I uttered those words in complete madness. My humble characteristics are slowly changing without realizing myself. Lucas halted his footsteps hearing Vincent's last sentence. He said to him in a low tone, Vincent, you can't make such rash decisions. Fatty, Lucas was quite nervous. Earlier he was glad that Vincent stepped in to help him. But he doesn't want Vincent to retaliate without knowing anything. I'm stunned hearing his words. Earlier I appreciated his boldness to act without backing down when facing such rudeness. But why does he now change his words? I'm confused. I didn't ask anything as we reached our school clinic. It's a small building, having only the ground floor to operate. I can see this place is only for school students to get treatment. As this place is not a hospital. It's functioning on some government programs. There are no other people around. As both of us entered inside the gate, we heard some noise ahead. Creak, the door slid open. A gentle-looking old woman, around 60 years old, walked outside from the clinic room at this moment. Seeing her, we didn't stop walking, we thought she must be a patient. So, we slowly went near the waiting room to sit. But suddenly, you brat, what's wrong with you? She pointed her fingers at Vincent. Hearing that, I called out the system in my mind. System, probe her details. Probe details. Name, Meryl Jade. Magic power, healing. Age, 110. Mage level, level 2 limiter. Talent, lower bottom. Color, pale yellow. Strength, 50. Speed, 50. Stamina, 30. Vitality, 40. Intelligence, 30. Soul power, 35. Constitution, 31. Mana power -100, stagnated. Core status, 100%, level 2. Spells, wood healing art. Mental method, recess healing method, 50%, incomplete. Her information was revealed on the screen in front of my eyes. The information screen is part of the system's functions, it's only visible to me. So, she is not patient here. We misunderstood her completely. She is the actual healer mage in charge of this clinic. What's more unbelievable is that her age is around 110. Goodness? She might be the oldest in our school. Vincent's stunned expression is noticed by the old woman. She looks at Vincent in curiosity. Vincent? Fatty shouts at me in a low tone. Hearing that, I know I'm taking too much time to respond, I should better get used to this. Then I looked toward the old woman and said, a few minutes ago, we were involved in a small scuffle. So, I came here to check my health. The old woman nodded hearing that, she then motioned Vincent to follow her. What about him? I said. I'm looking at Fatty, I'm not the only one got thrashed here. But suddenly I realized something, why does he look okay? That fat kid doesn't need any treatment. At this moment, the old woman's voice rang in my ears. The other hand, Lucas Brad smiled embarrassingly. Something is wrong here, I felt looking at his expression. System, probe Fatty's details. Probe details. Name, Lucas Brad. Magic power, fart. Age, 16. Mage level, level 1 limiter. Talent, middle bottom. Color, pale green. Strength, 12. Speed, 12. Stamina, 10. Vitality, 12. Intelligence, 11. Soul power, 11. Constitution, 11. Mana power -11. Core status, 0. Spells, 0. Mental method, none. How is this possible? I blurted out in surprise. I'm completely shocked. If not for the system's ability, I wouldn't have believed these numbers if someone says. Because both of us awakened our magic power on the same day in that second ceremony event. Vincent's loud voice annoyed the old woman. She shouted, "You brat. Are you coming or not?" I heard the old woman's calling from inside the clinic room. I nodded at Lucas before stepping inside. I stepped inside the room, where I can see 3 med pod chambers were installed side by side, a little distance away from each other. At this moment, the old woman asked, "Are you surprised?" She wants to know this kid's answer. She finds this kid looks rather interesting. She suspects that Vincent somehow recognized her profession earlier. Hearing the healer's question, I took my eyes from those med pods and said, "Yes, we both awakened out magic power on the same day." The healer, old woman Meryl Jade, nodded. "It's because that fat kid's magic power is quite strange. His body metabolism works under the consumption of huge mana-filled nutrient foods, which gives him a huge boost in strength. Surprisingly, his mage power is also related to his body metabolism," she said with a smile. Then she further added, "The reason that kid looks alright. Perhaps he had already consumed some mana-filled meat." Hearing that, I nodded in understanding. This quite seems like a magic hack. Earlier, I suspected this must be the case, but now knowing for sure it feels rather strange. Then the old woman gestures to me to enter the med pod for a checkup. Hearing that, I entered the med pod. This is not something new to me. I've been quite used to this since my childhood. Whenever I had some issues with my health in my childhood days, my parents dragged me to a nearby medic hospital for treatment, where I got treated inside those sophisticated med pods. Once I entered the med pod, the door closed automatically. Soon a green liquid begins to fill the chamber for treatment. Outside, Ms. Meryl Jade is currently monitoring my health status on the screen. A hint of light flashes before her eyes as she looks at his name and the magic power. The green color liquid filled up to my neck. Slowly, my body absorbed some energies from those green liquids. Small changes took place in my body without realizing myself. Sometime later, the liquid's rich green color fades away and is gradually replaced with colorless liquid. Creak, the med pod's door slit opens. I opened my eyes hearing that sound and I stepped out of the med pod chamber slowly. "Doctor, how is my condition?" I inquired. I'm used to this term doctor. Though the person in front of me is a healer mage, many times stronger than a human doctor. "Why are you calling me a doctor? I'm a professional healer." "You can call me healer or by calling my name as Ms. Meryl Jade." I felt awkward, so I immediately agreed to her answer. Then Ms. Meryl Jade commented, "I looked at your health report. There is nothing to worry about. There were some minor injuries earlier, but they were all healed by medicinal liquid. You look good now." Hearing that, I sighed in relief. Then I left the clinic room after saying thank you. After leaving the room, I saw Fatty sitting in the waiting area for me. "Lucas!" I yelled. Lucas stood up from his seat as he heard Vincent's voice. Seeing Vincent slowly walking towards him, he said, "You look good. Has any injury occurred to you earlier?" "Nope, there were just some minor bruises. They were all healed." "Okay, let's go to the canteen to have a quick lunch before going to the class," I said with a smile. I didn't ask about his strength. As I know the reason now, I felt it's inappropriate to ask about it deeply. The other hand, I'm having a deep sense of urgency at this moment. Looks like I need to give up the idea of participating in scholarship challenges. I better request a mental method from Yellow River Academy. Then both of us made our way towards the canteen. The other hand, while Vincent is having his checkup, the news about his scuffle at the canteen is beginning to spread rapidly. At Vincent's home, Vincent's father Brad Carey is now staying at his home. As he had a night shift today, he is taking rest. Ding! Ding! Suddenly, Brad Carey heard a calling bell sound at the door. He had visitor at this moment. Seeing that, he quickly came to the door and opened it. Brad Carey was taken back seeing the person in front of him. The man appears to be a middle-aged person, around 40 years old. He is wearing a complete black tuxedo, having blonde curly hair and black eyes with light skin tone. He is around 5.8 foot tall in height. For a moment, he thought the person was from a huge tech company. Until, he set his eyes on his badge. His entire body shuddered completely. It's a yellow badge with white unicorn symbol on it. It's the respected symbol of Yellow River Academy. This person is from Vincent's academy? Did he come for Vincent? He thought to himself. Then he greeted him politely inside his home. After both of them took their seats, before Brad Carey could say something, the blonde-haired person commented, "Hi, I'm John Myers. Level 5 Fire Mage. I'm one of the staff from Yellow River Academy. Hearing that, Brad Carey gulped down his saliva. He is not talkative in nature. It would be better if Lila is here, he thought to himself. Seeing that Brad Carey is surprised, Mr. John Myers said, "You must be wondering. Why am I here, right?" Brad Carey stupidly nodded. But inside his heart the aura of level 5 mage captivated him. Usually, level 5 mage stood aloof, they were the heads of major organizations. So, he is completely speechless at this moment. "I came here to meet Mr. Vincent Carey," Mr. John Myers said bluntly. Hearing that Brad Carey wanted to ask for what purpose, but he suddenly felt it would be rude to ask. So, he stopped midway. Then he commented, "Mr. John, Vincent is at his school right now. Don't worry, I'll inform him about your arrival. I'm sure he is looking forward to seeing you." Mr. John smiled hearing that. On the other hand, Brad Carey called his son.